Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to be talking about the May monthly predictions, and you guys can watch this video both from your Lagna as well as from your moon sign. So let us talk about some of the key dates that are going to be coming into implication with the transitory shifts of planets for the month of May. Now guys, as you can see on the screen here, for the month of May 2026, it can be broken down into three phases. Phase one for the first 10 days of the month, where the king is on the throne. Sun is sitting exalted in the sign of Aries, giving all of us supreme confidence. But the planet Mars is sitting under combustion. So he is combusted during this period. We may all have a vision, but not the physical intensity that makes things happen. So the shift of Sun from Aries into the sign of Taurus will come into picture mid of the month, May 14th. Interestingly, this is the period where multiple shifts are coming into picture, because Mercury for the start of the month starts in the sign of Aries, but it also shifts along with Sun on May 14th into the sign of Taurus itself, and later in the month it is going to get into its own sign of Gemini on May 28th. So multiple shifts coming in for Mercury this month along as well. Venus is starting with the sign of Taurus, and it is going to transit on May 13th into the sign of Gemini. So you see the shift is coming in these two dates itself. Mars is in Pisces at this point in time. However, it will be in Aries from May 11th. So it is coming into its own sign, and it will eventually come out of combustion in the month of May itself on May 25th. So it's been a long haul wait for all of us on that front, especially for Aries and Scorpio prominent people watching this video. Then Jupiter is direct, sitting in Gemini in Punarvasu Nakshatra itself. Saturn is in Uttara Nakshatra, which is its own Nakshatra, and it is going to get into Revati on May 17th. So Revati is the Nakshatra ruled by Mercury, and I'm going to be talking about this particular Nakshatra transit as well later in the following few weeks to get us a better understanding as to what is anticipated. Rahu is in Shatabit in Aquarius, and Ketu, as we've recently done the videos as well, is in Magha Nakshatra. So essentially the second phase of the month is around May 11th to May 17th, where all this shift is coming into picture. First 10 days you find everything stable there, but the great migration comes into picture when Mars moves into its own sign on May 11th. Venus becomes conjunct with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini on May 13th, and then you find the movement of Sun along with Mercury into the sign of Taurus on May 14th. Later part of the month, what we'll realize is the ultimate release, because on May 25th Mars is finally coming out of combustion. The full warrior energy seems to be getting released during that period itself. By May 28th, Mercury will be joining Venus and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. So absolute powerhouse of intellect coming into picture in that space. Good amount of creativity, communication, and furthermore, even Saturn is going into the nakshatra of Mercury on May 17th. So there will be a shift from karmic focus towards healing in spaces, of businesses. So as I said, you guys can watch this video both from a Lagna as well as moon sign perspective, and I'm not going to deep dive into what is in store for the course of the month. So Aries, as you guys would see on your screen here, that you have multiple of these planets placed in your top of the chart itself. You have Rahu placed in your 11th house, Ketu in your 5th, and all of the planets falling within one side of the spectrum in your chart here. So what we see in the early part of the month of May, in the first 10 days, is that Sun is sitting exalted in your first house itself. This trend has been continuing since the last part of April, from the second half of April onwards, and this is a time where I anticipate, Aries, you will continue to glow, to come across confident, act with authority, take leadership in terms of your decision making as well. Yes, there could be situation of very hard decisions coming into picture, especially if my Aries friends who are watching this from a Sati perspective as well. Sun happens to be your 5th lord, but Saturn has been in your 12th house. It has been creating a difficult situation for my moon sign audience. So what you'll have to remember is that there could have been very tough decisions as well, which will become part and parcel of your game plan in this 15-day period. But yes, you will be brave enough, confident enough to act upon those. Now, your lugn lord Mars remains combusted in the 12th house in conjunction with this Saturn. So if you're watching from a moon sign perspective as well, this becomes crucial. Your mind is going to be strong, but your body is going to be feeling exhausted. You are able to counter the difficult situation of Sade Sati because Mars is attacking that Saturn at this point in time if you're watching from a moon sign perspective. However, from a physical toll perspective, even if you are a Aries moon or rising, I think there is going to be a lot of exhaustion, lots of drain, physical drain that you are going to feel. It can also be in terms of money, so be watchful, but I think more of it is going to be from a health perspective. Now, from a Venus standpoint, it brings steadiness because it is sitting in your second house. So there's going to be some steadiness with respect to wealth, with respect to your communication. As we enter into the middle part of the month, that is when you will realize that Mars has entered into your Lagna, forming Rochak Yoga. Very good and important shift coming into picture. Even if you are watching from a Sade Sati standpoint, Aries moon, then also it's a good situation. Yes, Mars being your Lagna Lord, Rashi Lord is still sitting combusted, but it's a good shift because it is going to revitalize you during this phase. Sun and Mercury are going to be shifting into your second house, which and forming Buddhaditya Yoga with respect to wealth and intellect, because you see Mercury happens to be the lord of your third house. From a communication perspective as well, this is crucial. You are going to be articulating yourself very strongly, very positively, and Venus is also entering into your third house with Jupiter, especially from a formal communication perspective. It's going to be a good period. Don't expect yourself doing too much of a physical labor and stuff, Aries, because that is not what Jupiter is, along with Venus and even with Mercury entering. I mean, they cannot do well in a tough house with respect to physical activities, but yes, from your expression front you are going to be pretty good. And then the late part of the month is when Mars is coming out of combustion, so that's a very positive shift because now I can anticipate, Aries, you are going to see skyrocketing of your physical energy. This is the time where you could start feeling unstoppable. Mercury is becoming conjunct with Venus and Jupiter as well, again bringing in a lot of brilliance with respect to your communication, with respect to social media, with respect to your courage in general, your confidence in general could see an enhancement and increase during this period. So it's a very, very good time. Now, from a life areas that I see getting impacted, number one, from a career standpoint, you are going to transition from behind the scenes to becoming more into the front line, to becoming into the forefront now. And the reason I iterate this is that Mars is making a very crucial shift. Irrespective of your job, irrespective of your business, that pivot of Mars from the mid of the month onwards is going to be impactful. Yes, you have self-belief. Yes, you have courage and willpower thanks to the exaltation of Sun. But somewhere your superhero has not been able to provide that support, which is now going to come into picture. And the best part is it is going to be coming out of its state of combustion as well. See, Mars gets exalted in your 10th house, so his strength is going to impact your effort in any direction, be it job or with respect to business. Now, for people who are watching this from a job perspective, if you are working in sales, writing, presentation creation, e-commerce sort of businesses or jobs, see, as the month progresses, things are going to continue to just improve on you. Mercury is getting directional strength in the first house, very good placement. Later on, it comes in Taurus, it is an average situation, but then Mercury coming in its own sign, it's a functional benefic. It changes its outcome based on the planets it's sitting in conjunction with. So now with Jupiter and Venus, there will be a lot of benefic nature with this Mercury, and I anticipate that people who are in these industries, you are going to see some positive development. There could be a lot of travel, work related travel also coming into picture for people during this phase, so be prepared on that front too. People who are self-employed, running their own businesses, or watching this from their spouse's growth, business and partnership perspective as well, this month all in all is looking very positive for your efforts in that direction. As long as you are communicative, as long as you are able present your thoughts with clarity. And the only reason I say with clarity is because there could be some degree of push and pull with the two gurus sitting together in the house of communication. You could be having different chain of thoughts coming in how you want to express yourself, but overall from a business standpoint, again, looks very positive. What you've got to remember is that Saturn, being the 10th lord and the 11th lord, is sitting in the 12th house. So if you are connected with international businesses, if you are interested, if you're doing something with respect to multinational corporations, import export businesses, absolutely great period. But if you are within your same space where you've been born, you are living in the same vicinity, in the same culture and stuff, this could be a time which will demand a lot of hard work. This is a time which demands a lot of toil as well from you guys, Aries. So be prepared on that front. From a finances perspective, mid of the month is bringing in a massive focus with respect to your savings, with respect to your wealth creation, family wealth as well. Sun, Mercury, both of them are going to be placed in the second house itself. Mars is going to be coming out of the 12th spot. It is going to be coming to the Lagna. So again, a lot of focus on self. Savings are going to be prominent throughout the course of this month. That is going to be, a prominent feature. However, unexpected expenses, or I should say investments, will also be required. So don't consider your expenses as expenses, because your 10th and 11th lord is in the 12th. It is going to demand some bit of investments from your side. What you will have to be though careful is from a health perspective, because that, I was alluding to it earlier in the video as well, that is something that can bring in some bit of a drainage for you. So be mindful. It could be physical drain or drain to address, financial drain to address your health, etc. Overall, the month looks balanced from a financial standpoint. I think once Sun and Mercury are in conjunction in the second, you might be able to negotiate something profitable for your family or with your family as well. All of that is also possible. Now, for my student audience watching this video, excellent focus is coming into picture for you folks, because at the start of the month, your fifth lord is in exalted position, right from the month of April onwards all the way till mid of May. That is a very sound situation to be in. And your sixth lord of competition as well is in the Lagna, which means that not only it will give you the ability to learn and grasp stuff, to be intelligent in your approach, but also crack competitive examinations, some sort of selection, etc. is coming into picture. The later part of the month is indicating efforts more so in terms of preparation, in terms of continuing to hone your knowledge. Once Sun is moving into the second house, whilst shift of Mercury, ninth to itself, is indicating that you could have another stroke of luck, another opportunity, unexpected opportunity come your way, which gives you a sort of comeback of sorts with respect to your desires that you had in mind. From a health standpoint, I anticipate early on in the month is indicating severe burnout coming into picture. As I said, Mars, Saturn, both of them placed in the 12th house. Excessive amount of drain, physical drain is possible. It is also a time where you could be suffering from headaches or eye related issues, because this is the time where Sun will be, albeit sitting in exaltation, but getting an aspect from Ketu as well. So some sort of eye related surgery, etc. is also probable for people during this phase. Now, your total physical resurrection of sorts is going to be coming into picture in the last part of the month, once Mars is also coming out of the Lagna as well, and it is going to be coming out of combustion. So that is very important. Eventually, by the end of the month, you are going to regain control on things the way you anticipated, the way you desired. So I think the month is flourishing in a positive way for you. From a relationship standpoint, communication with your spouse could improve dramatically from the second half of the month. There will be some egotistical situations. After all, in your Lagna, you have an exalted Sun with Mercury. So you could be very sharp with your words, with your communication, with your way of articulation as well. And there is a debilitated aspect of Sun towards your 7th house. So your partner itself could be a bit submissive. However, Venus is making very interesting shifts, coming into the second house, coming into the third house in conjunction with Jupiter. Jupiter giving an aspect towards your 7th. Very good period for your relationship with your spouse to just continue to improve week over week. So I think there is going to be a lot of dialogue, a lot of interaction, spirituality and romantic behavior coming into picture. So there is some degree of improvement, but the other bit we have to remember is Ketu still is stationed in your 5th house. So overall, Aries, this is a period which could act make you a lot more aloof. It could make you act in a strange way sometimes with the people that you love as well. See, once Mars is in conjunction with Saturn, there could be some argumentative situations at your workplace. Please be watchful of your choice of words there. I think Jupiter is still continuing to give you some bit of logic, some bit of benediction, some bit of thought process, that you don't create difficult situations, because Jupiter is giving an aspect to your 7th, 9th, bosses, superiors, gurus, mentors, teachers, friend network and circle as well into the 11th. So be mindful on that front. But during the Mars and Saturn conjunction period, some bit of tricky situations can come into picture. Now, throughout the course of this month, one of the remedies or caveat that I would want to call out is that please try and consume lots of water, especially if you're in Aries moon perspective. Do some bit of yoga activities, pranayam, etc. is going to be extremely positive for you to bring a shift in the drain that you could feel through the course. It could be an emotional or physical drain coming into picture. Now, folks, if you've enjoyed the thoroughness and the details that we bring to the table with respect to the monthly predictions for May 2026, my request to you would be, please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah. Now, my Taurus friends, if you see the chronological order in the first part of the month, the early part of May, you will realize that Venus, which is your Lagna Lord, or if you're watching from a Taurus moon sign perspective, Venus is your Rashi Lord. It is forming Malav Yoga. Why? Because Venus is placed in your Lagna itself. And you would have been observing from the last part of April, this is a time you could be coming across extremely charming, magnetic. Although you have exalted Sun sitting in your 12th house, which means that there is going to be some bit of an impact coming in with respect to your expenses. Your property assets purchases could come into picture in a place far away from your current residence. You might go ahead and invest into something very expensive. Real estate purchase, yogas have been in place since later part of April, and they will continue into the month of May as well for you, Taurus. So you will observe that bit coming into picture. Then the other thing is that Mercury, which happens to be the lord of your second house and fifth house, is placed in the 12th. So yes, it has come out of its debilitation, but it will still be almost acting in its phase of debilitation itself in the 12th house, which means that the expenses could come in weird places, like your choice of expenses to certain things might not be its greatest, or otherwise, for some of you, there could be gain in income from international sources, from foreign sources as well, but those gains will not be substantial enough. It will just be, the amount of creativity that you're bringing to the table, against that, the outcome might be substandard. During this period, Mars is sitting in conjunction with Saturn, which is your Yoga Karaka planet, in your 11th house, and they continue to give an aspect to your second. Albeit Mars is combusted. Mars happens to be the lord of your 7th house and your 12th house. So yes, there is going to be some bit of difficulties, challenges in your partnership, in your marriage as well, that might continue in terms of your communication. You'll have to be bringing in a lot more calmness, so to speak, during this period. Now, the middle part of the month is the period where Mars is going to be entering in your 12th house, and Mars is the 12th lord. It is in combust position, which is indicating that there is going to be some bit of hidden anger, some sort of sleep related issues that could come into picture. So you could feel frustrated about some issue as well, Taurus, during this phase. The Sun and Mercury on the other side, Sun happens to be the 4th lord, and Mercury the second lord and the 5th lord for you. Both of them will be entering in your Lagna, which means that there is going to be some bit of commanding, authoritative behavior which you are going to showcase now. In fact, you could reflect that to the larger world, at your workplace, to your spouse, to your partner, in your business partnership as well. Some bit of leadership, authoritative mindset is going to be now taking place. You are going to be the one who's going to try and step into the spotlight of things, take charge, take control of situations in your life. Whereas Venus will be coming in conjunction with Jupiter in your second house, and that is forming a massive Dhan Yoga as well. So May month is also indicating, from this period onwards, a very key trigger for you to find success with respect to savings, with respect to wealth, with respect to families. Some of you could be blessed with childbirth, etc. also coming into picture, especially in the last phase, late May month period, because Mars is going to be coming out of combustion. All that hidden frustration, etc. is going to go away, and you will be able to overcome difficult situations, sleeplessness, insomnia related matters. You will be able to overcome your unknown hidden enemies as well. They are going to go away. You are going to find a very strong Shatru Hanta Yoga. And then, to make matters interesting, Mercury will also be coming into that second house cluster, so that Dhan Yoga that I was alluding to becomes all the more strong. Yes, there is going to be sharpness in your speech, but this speech will become incredibly powerful. You are going to leverage your communication to enhance your income, to enhance your profitable negotiation led deals as well. Now let's try and break this down with respect to different life areas that are going to be impacted. From a career standpoint, what you will notice is that the visibility for you folks is going to be substantially high from the second half of the month. Once Sun and Mercury are there in your Lagna, authority figures will start favoring you as well. But all in all, I've been repeating this for a while. From a career perspective, whether you are in a job or you're doing business of your own, Rahu's presence in the 10,000, Ketu in the fourth. Yes, Ketu is taking you away from family related matters, or maybe not enough respite. Good part is Jupiter sitting in the second house, but Rahu's presence in the 10th is showcasing magnification of your karmas. 10th Lord sitting in the 11th house. Yes, he is with a fierce Mars, which is the 12th Lord as well, but it is still indicating that in your business partnerships, Taurus, you are going to find success gains coming in. The gains could be after a bit of a struggle, after a challenging situation, some transformative situations, but still you are going to find gains coming in your way. If you are an person who is in job, this is going to be a period where you are going to be immersed in terms of new job related opportunities. You could be exploring something outside your current scope of work as well. And for many of you, the probability of making that switch continues from the later part of the month of April, I would say. You can validate from the past and see that how those things are panning out, and then it will continue all the way into the month of May and even into June. So very good period for people who are employed somewhere to scout for the right opportunities, new areas of collaboration, new areas of income could also open for you. Remember, Jupiter is in conjunction with Venus, but Jupiter happens to be your 11th lord of gains as well as 8th lord. So some sort of hidden materialization of money, inheritance based things could also work out for you. Now from a business standpoint, what I would like to highlight here is that since Mars, which is your 7th lord, it is stepping into the 11th house, forming a conjunction with your Yoga Karaka planet Saturn, there is a very strong chance of some profitable deal coming into picture. But you must try and figure out a way to sign that deal, or be very observant in terms of signing that deal, because during that phase, in the first half of the month, Mercury will be in your 12th house. And when Mercury is in the Lagna, yes, he is sitting with an exalted sun, but there could be a very expensive proposition is what you might sign. You might purchase something at a very higher price. It will be good for your business. It will be good for your partnership. It could be a gift for your spouse as well, for that matter, from a career perspective. But since we are alluding to the business side of things, I just wanted you to be aware on that front. By the way, this also opens the door of success, new job opportunities, new business opportunities coming in for your spouse too. So just wanted to call that out for you, Taurus. Now, moving further from a finance standpoint, as I said, May 13th onwards, once Sun is coming to the Lagna, once Saturn is there stationary by itself, Mars is coming to the 12th house, I think the biggest shift or the jackpot event would be presence of Venus also, along with Mercury in the last part of the month in your second house. So very strong Dhan Yoga formation is coming into picture from a finance perspective. You see, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, they will be conjunct in your second house. This is happening at the fag end of the month. But in the earlier part of the month as well, what you will notice is Jupiter will be in conjunction with Venus. Mercury would have come out of the 12th house, so that's a positive bit. Second lord is not in the house of expenses, but 12th to itself in Lagna means you could be investing something in your business, you could be investing something on yourself, you could be investing something to train yourself or for your health. So not a bad shift. Not every penny is there to be saved, right? So this is a jackpot sort of a situation in my mind. Even from an expenses perspective, Mars is sitting combusted, so your expenses could not be as big. Plus, the good part is Rahu sitting in the 10th house is giving an aspect to your second house, 6th house, whilst Ketu is aspecting your 8th and your 12th. Spiritual expenses might be there. Some sort of karmic expenses could be there into play, but at the end of the day, from a material standpoint, significant amount of gains are anticipated. Financial income, bonuses, unexpected bonuses, tax refunds, family inheritance, etc. working out. All of that is probable and possible for you, Taurus, in the month of May. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education standpoint, I think this is going to be great for people who are pursuing any kind of linguistic skills, people who are learning music, art of some shape and form, people who are learning about the finance industry, healing, healthcare industry. Students in this area are going to find themselves in a good space. Jupiter-Venus conjunction is going to be a positive bit coming in from that angle. Other than that as well, you have to understand that Mercury happens to be the lord of your 5th house. Venus happens to be the lord of your 6th house. In the first part of the month as well, Venus is indicating some bit of success. It is only establishing positively in the vicinity of Jupiter from competitive standpoint later half of the month as well. So not a bad situation, because it is going to be traveling 9 places away from itself. So I see a positive angle coming into picture from that too. What you will have to be though careful is for people who are pursuing education in a foreign land, good news is possible, but for other students it might bring in some bit of expenses, unexpected situations in terms of your preparation being impacted. Some people getting too curious about your strategies and how you are studying, so may not be the best idea to divulge every bit of information about yourself or your strategy or your map to everyone, because if you do, it might not materialize. So please be watchful on that front. Now, moving on towards the health bit, I anticipate that for many of you, Taurus, sleep could highly be disturbed until the later part of the month. Once Mars is coming out of its combustion in the 12th house, you will see some bit of relief coming into picture there as well, and Shatruganta Yoga is coming into place. In fact, whatever I was telling with respect to students a minute back, people who are in job or people who are in businesses as well should not share your plans with others during this period, because they might not work out, especially until Mars is coming out of combustion. Once Mars is out, it is going to help address a lot of these concerns as well. Overall, health looks okay, but because Venus is in good vicinity, but things are only going to improve in the later part of the month, where you will see significant positive shift coming into picture. From a relationship standpoint, you will use quite wise, sweet, kind words throughout the course of this month. You will try and resolve any kind of disputes coming in with your partner, with respect to your family members. Yes, Ketu is there in the 4th house, which means that you might not be able to give enough amount of time to your family, but you will still try to navigate to the fullest of your abilities in terms of trying to offer whatever you can. So there is going to be a good degree of balance that you will try to bring in your life. In fact, Rahu's balance is coming in with Jupiter, and Venus has come out of the aspects of Ketu. So a positive shift coming in from that perspective. However, I still expect, Taurus, that you are going to be very busy as long as Rahu is there in the 10th house. Make full use of this opportunity in terms of growing in your current workspace, and whatever you are doing in the current organization, you have a lot of probability to navigate higher up the ladder in this space. Now, from a remedies perspective, my call out to you folks will be, Taurus, please keep a check on your expenses, especially in the early part of the month. You might want to prepare a log, some sort of a ledger for yourself. Just don't rely on your credit card statements. Just do not lean onto your bank statements and making any guesswork. You must plan things. Writing is going to be crucial. It is going to come across as a remedy for you during this phase. Other than that, this month seems extraordinarily positive. Things seem to be shaping in the right direction. So I hope if you have loved and enjoyed the assessment, the insights that I bring to the table with respect to May 2026 predictions for Taurus, my request for you to would be to smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah. Now, Gemini, as you guys can see on your screen here, the early part of the month May is indicating that Sun sits exalted in your 11th house. And this is bringing some very powerful network based connections, fulfillment of desires, you achieving your goals, targets, objectives, of course, with significant amount of hard work coming in from your side. Please understand that it's not that Mars has come into exaltation. Sun has come into exaltation, which is the lord of your third house. So yes, it could mean that there will be wish fulfillment, but it will be based on the significant amount of hard work that you put together. Or it is also possible that you will move mountains to achieve your objectives. You are going to put tremendous amount of strength, fearlessness in terms of your dreams, ambitions into place. It also indicates that there are possibilities that there could be something positive which might come into picture with respect to you picking up a new hobby, activating yourself in terms of your day-to-day physical activities and stuff like that. Short distance travels could be very prominent for you during this period as well. And throughout this phase, Jupiter is sitting on top of your lagna in your first house if you're watching from a Gemini moon perspective. So it is going to give you immense amount of wisdom as well with respect to your thought process, with respect to the blessings coming in from the divine. Now, mid part of the month is the phase where Mars is entering into your 11th house, and Mars, you see, guys, has been sitting in your 10th house. So directionally it has been in great situation. However, it still remains combusted. It is the lord of your 6th house. Many of you Gemini, again, if you're watching from a moon as well as from lagna perspective, you could have been struggling with respect to your job opportunities, with respect to career, with respect to your health. Mars has been sitting in the first half with Saturn in your 10th, but once Mars comes into the 11th house, this is a time where some sort of action, some sort of an outcome is going to come into picture with respect to your job opportunities, with respect to your health improvement, with respect to you finding some solution with around your competitive examinations success, or some ideas, some bit of a traction in that direction is going to begin to happen. It is also indicating, because Mars happens to be the lord of your 12th house, profits could be coming in from places of isolation, from foreign lands. Some bit of positive aggression is going to come into picture, and I should say passionate energy coming out in you, where you could be chasing your profits, your gains, your desires. But it can also bring some bit of friction with respect to your friends. Disagreements, animosity, anger could be coming into picture from that regard as well. See, when Mars is going to be here, it's going to be giving a fourth aspect towards your 2nd house. So dispute within the family or being too possessive towards your family could also come into picture. Aspect to your 5th house and 6th house. Therefore, job related probability is going to improve. Sun is going to be moving into your 12th house, coming out of its exaltation, and it is going to initiate a period where you could see some bit of surge in your expenses, isolation. Venus is entering in your lagna during this period itself and becomes conjunct with Jupiter. Now, Venus happens to be your 12th lord. You have Sun, which is your 3rd lord, sitting in the 12th house. 12th lord coming into the lagna, coming in conjunction with your 7th and your 10th lord in place. Venus also happens to be your 5th lord. So it's a positive planet for you, Gemini, and its presence in the lagna is indicating that there is going to be some expansion of sorts in terms of beauty, in terms of luxury, in terms of satisfaction coming in your life. Now, in the last part of the month, you will find that Mars, which is your 6th lord and your 11th lord, is becoming unleashed. It is going to ensure that it secures gains for you. Your lagna lord Mercury will also enter your lagna itself. It is also the lord of your 4th house. So he is going to become in conjunction with Venus and Jupiter. And this is an absolute genius yoga, because the blessings of Jupiter, the creativity of Venus, and the smartness of your Lagna Lord itself, your Rashi Lord, if you're watching from a moon sign, coming into the house is indicating that some positive influence is coming into picture by the late part of May. Some positive developments are coming into place. Now let's try and break this down from various phases of life to get clarity. First and foremost, from the from a career life area perspective, I anticipate that for many Gemini periods there are going to be profitable positive situations coming into picture in terms of elevation, new job changes, some sort of right decision making coming into picture, especially in the second half. But even in the early half, there is going to be no stone unturned, because this is a time where you see that Mars and Saturn, both of them which happen to gain directional strength in the 10th house, is indicating that you are going to be pumping in efforts, you are going to be putting in efforts, and the Lord of your hard work, courage, effort, Sun is also sitting exalted. So somewhere you are going to be motivated towards karma. Now, people who are watching from a job standpoint, who are employed at a service level, you could find that things are not absolutely falling in place for you, because Mars is sitting in combustion. It has been in combustion for a while, Geminis, and I think many of you have even asked me that when is the job change happening. For many of you, the desired shift could not have come into picture thanks to this turbulence. And then the good part is that Mars has in the last couple of months stepped out of the 8th house, 7th house, difficult placements for you folks, Gemini. It had entered 9th, now it is in 10th, and later it enters 11th. So it will give the opportunity for you to make those right changes, to make those job switches, or in fact somewhere from 10th of somewhere from May onwards, you could see that things are beginning to materialize, things are beginning to shape. Albeit you might not see an absolute outcome, but there will be some sort of a positive shift coming into picture. Now, the good part is that Mercury is also going to enter your Lagna later. But before that, Mercury in the first half is in being your Lagna Lord, is in conjunction with an exalted Sun in your 11th house. So yes, you are going to be deeply motivated towards your material achievements, towards your success, towards your targets and objectives that you want to accomplish. However, once Mercury enters into the sign of Taurus, that period could be a little bit draining. It might not be the best period, because some of your decisions, some of your judgment could also be going wrong. If you are watching this video from an entrepreneur's mindset, if you're self-employed, doing something of your own, then you've got to understand that your 7th lord happens to be Jupiter, which is sitting in your first house itself. Later in the month, it is going to get ample amount of support from from Venus as well coming into the Lagna. So there is going to be significant amount of charm elevation, as I mentioned earlier, coming into picture. Plus, Mercury's combination is going to bring in some flawless decision making as well. Now, there is a probability that when multiple planets are there sitting in the first house, they tend to bring a lot of confusion with respect of decision making. So that could also be a part and parcel of the game. Geminis, you have to remember one thing, that Mercury is retrograding multiple times through the course of this year, and therefore you'll have to be very careful of your decision making through the year, in terms of your communication, in terms of articulation, etc. as well. Now, as we move further, I would want to draw your attention towards the financial aspect of things. See, from a finances perspective, the first 10 days are indicating that if you are making your investments during this period, things are going to work out in terms of gains potentially. Sun is there in the 11th house, so some positive income expansion, new income areas, new revenue sources getting opened, side hustles getting work out. Even the 11th lord being in the 10th is not a bad situation to be in. Now, of course, Geminis, for you, money always fluctuates, your savings always fluctuate because of the shift of moon, which is your second lord. But as you progress through the course of the month, once Mars enters into your 11th house, it is going to bring a lot more stability, plus it is going to bring some degree of control towards your bank balance, etc. too. Now you've got to understand that Venus is sitting in your 12th house, so yes, you will be looking forward to invest, I would say, in yourself, on your wardrobe, in your health area, maybe in terms of branded luxurious items, or in terms of lifestyle products as well. So you would want to invest in yourself, and as Venus moves into the Lagna, you are going to flaunt it, you are going to leverage it, you are going to showcase it to the world. So there is going to be some bit of that positive influence coming in your life. Venus is present in 12th house is not seen negatively. Yes, you can always anticipate that expenses will definitely be on the rise for you from a finance perspective. Now, the other bit that you'll have to remember here is that Venus will be sitting with Mercury as well. So please be careful with respect to health related expenses coming into picture. Some sort of spending could be coming into place with respect to hospitalization for some of you Geminis. So you'll have to be careful on that front. Overall, I do not anticipate anything negative, because see, Jupiter's presence in the Lagna is promising significant amount of abundance in a person's life. So that is going to be there. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education standpoint, Jupiter is giving an aspect towards your 5th house. In the later part of the month, Venus is also going to come to the Lagna. So as the month progresses, it is going to be a good month for you to bring in some clarity or effort or understanding of some concepts that were not, that were not clear to you. You are going to find yourself assimilating that knowledge pretty well. You see, your 4th lord is also Mercury. At least the initial part of the month, the first half, is indicating that you are going to expand in your knowledge base, you are going to learn new things. However, the middle part of the month, from 15th or 14th of May onwards all the way till 23rd, I think that middle of second week, third week of May is indicating some bit of confusion coming into picture, some bit of lack of clarity also coming into picture. There could be some shakiness in your decision making with respect to education. However, as you approach the fag end of the month, Mars is also going to become direct. Come out of its combust state in the 11th house, and that is indicating success coming for you folks in your competitive examinations. You are going to find yourself prominently well. I think there is going to be no stone unturned from your side with respect to effort. So again, promising behavior on that front too. From a health standpoint, please remember, as Sun moves into the 12th house, this is going to be a crucial phase where some bit of drop in your vitality could come into picture. But the good part is, eventually by the end of the month, you will significantly beautifully recover as well. Jupiter is there in the Lagna. I don't see anything majorly negative. Venus and Mercury will also come into the Lagna, but the middle part, because Sun will be in the 12th house accompanied with your Lagna Lord as well. So that is a tricky situation to be in until Mercury steps out of the 12th house. It's a natural point of debilitation. Even though it is in the sign Taurus, it's not as bad, but it's not a phenomenal situation for your Mercury to be in. Any which ways, it was debilitated a few days back whilst it was in the 10th house, but there it was gaining directional strength. So it was much better from that perspective. Now, coming in from the relationship standpoint, you are going to come across as one of the most attractive zodiac signs, I would say, in the month of May. After all, Venus is going to be coming into the Lagna. Jupiter is there. Very good thought process, blessings from the divine. People who are single watching this video, this is going to be a fabulous month for your romantic connections, for your new relationship beginnings coming into picture. Especially in the later part of the month, things are going to get a lot more better. In fact, your relationship with your spouse, with your partner, is also going to see a renewed degree of romance coming into picture. And I think things are going to go on the positive direction on that front as well, because the 5th lord is in Lagna in conjunction with the 7th lord, and the 7th lord is giving an aspect to your 5th, 7th and 9th. So very positive situation coming into picture from that perspective too. Now, what you've got to remember though is that in the early part of the month, Mars sitting in conjunction with Saturn is going to bring some bit of conflicting, argumentative, disagreement driven situations where your choice of words could be hurtful. They might not align with your partner, with your near and dear ones, because both of these planets are giving an aspect to your fourth house. So there is definitely some bit of an impact coming in your emotional well-being, your domestic peace at home, and therefore be watchful. Mars sitting in the 10th house will also give an aspect to the lagna, which means it can ignite lots of temper, lots of aggression, harsh choice of words could be coming into picture, and it might continue once Mars enters into the 11th house as well, because from there the tendency is a lot more protective, but still there will be some bit of an aggression towards family. So be watchful on those areas. Now Mars is sitting in conjunction with Saturn, at least for the first half until that shift is coming into picture. Therefore there could be some situations of disagreement with your bosses, superiors, things not working out the way you anticipate, with your clients, with your father figure for that matter. So all those areas can be bringing in some degree of challenge, some degree of trouble during this phase. Now last but not the least, I would want to call out that from a remedy standpoint, please consider making some spiritual, charity donations around mid of the month, so that you can address some of the losses that could be coming into place with the shift of Sun and Mercury in your 12th house. That those charitable activities, donation or helping people out with respect to health related matters in a temple, in a place of worship, or just donating at a hospital, etc., is going to be a lot more positive than what you could imagine. Now, folks, if you've enjoyed watching this video and the effort that goes in terms of creating these videos, my request to you is that please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah. All right. So my dear Cancer friends, or Kark Rashi, if you're watching from a Cancer moon sign perspective, the early part of the month, May, the first 10-12 days is a period where Sun is sitting exalted with that brilliant directional strength coming into picture in your 10th house itself. It is indicating an absolute career peace, but more importantly, it's a fantabulous Dhan Yoga also coming into picture, because it is your second lord coming into exaltation in your 10th. Of course, with this placement, you also have Mercury in conjunction with Sun in the 10th. So both of them, they are going to be doing phenomenally well with the directional strength in the 10th house. This is a time where you could be finding yourself with an absolute peak in your career. You could be doing everything right when it comes to your karma, be it in your job, at your work front, in your business, or even if you are working as a homemaker, student, whatever walk of life you come from. I think your actions are working in the right direction. Yes, the 10th lord for you, Mars, is sitting combusted, may not be giving you the absolutely brilliant results, but there is a karma dharma adhipati yoga coming into picture as well. You see that Kendra and trine connection with Mars sitting in the sign of Pisces, with that Saturn in the 9th during that phase itself, is still giving a lot of prominence. 10th lord in the 9th house, it is also your 5th lord, 5 places away from itself. Bhavarth, Bhavam also coming into picture. So I think you will have a phenomenal start of the month as well, to the month of May. There could be, however, certain ideological clashes that could be coming up with your bosses, superiors, customers, clients, mentors, teachers, gurus, father for that matter. Be watchful on that front. Arguments are not going to be taking you far ahead in the cycle. So you've got to traverse that carefully. Now, in the middle of the month, mid-May is the time where that interesting Rochak Yoga comes into play, because Mars is going to be traversing into its own sign in your 10th house, being the 5th lord, again getting amazing directional strength. So this is a time, even though it is, albeit it is the reason that it might create some bit of toxicity or competitive behavior at your work environment. So be watchful in that front. Venus enters your 12th house, where it becomes conjunct with Jupiter. And Venus doesn't get the dosha of being in the 12th house, guys. It is the house of expansion, spirituality. Somewhere or the other, there is going to be an expansion coming in on all those regards. See, in the first part of the month, 11th lord was stationed in the 11th house itself. But Venus also happens to be the lord of the 4th, and therefore it gives very strong possibilities of some sort of and I don't know how did I forget this thing, but it is going to bring the possibility of business transactions, business dealings from a foreign land flourishing for you, as well as possibilities of expenses coming in with respect to your property, some big property purchase, especially in a foreign land far away from your current residence. Those possibilities are going to be triggered from this period onwards. And then late May is the time where you guys will see that Mars is coming out of its combustion. That's a good thing. This is a time that you could ruthlessly conquer, and I don't know, maybe ruthlessness is something that doesn't chime well with Cancer friends, but yeah, I mean, you could be coming across extremely aggressive, passionate, energetic when we're talking about your career goals and objectives and how you're trying to achieve them. Mercury is going to be becoming conjunct in your 12th house in that cluster. And whilst Mercury happens to be the lord of the 12th house, it is a natural point of debilitation as well for Mercury. So not one of the best placements for Mercury to be in. But I think if any sign could accommodate Mercury well in the 12th house, it has to be my Cancerian folks. So you guys are still okay. It is your third lord sitting in the 12th. So there is going to be massive amount of expansion, expenses, etc. coming into play for you folks. Now let's try and break this down from various segments, various areas of life that are going to be impacted, and first and foremost being career. See, be it your job or business, I think there is an absolute dominance coming into picture thanks to the exalted presence of your star alignment on the 10th house itself. You will work harder than anybody else. However, there is a risk of you burning the bridges, creating difficulties with your superiors, with your bosses, with your gurus, with your teachers, with your clients. So if you are a startup founder, if you are self-employed, if you are in a job, if you are a student watching this video, there are a lot of positives coming out from your own karma standpoint. However, especially for for people who are self-driven, who are entrepreneurs, you see, your 7th lord is Saturn, which is in the 9th house. So there is a lot of promise. It is sitting in the house of luck. Saturn in the 9th is not bad. In fact, the 9th lord is 4 places away from itself, and it is forming a Viparita Raj Yoga as well, being the 6th lord in the 12th. But what you've got to remember is, because Mars in its combusted state is going to be in conjunction with Saturn, that combination is not great at all. And that is where some bit of a tussle, some bit of an egotistical situation could be coming into picture. So you've got to be very careful. At the end of the day, guys, customer is king. So if you are running your venture, if you are self-employed, the person who's paying for your services, for your product, for your whatever you are delivering to the market, you've got to take some bit of shit from their side as well. I mean that is how the balance absolutely tilts, right? And you never know, some of the biggest firms, biggest companies have to pay attention to the needs of the customer. So there will be tussle-like situations, and please let your ego go away, because sun in its exaltation can bring heightened amount of ego as well. But if you let that go, you are just activating your dhan yogas so fabulously. Now, if you are an employee, if you are a job person working somewhere, your 6th lord is forming that Viparita Raj Yoga, placed in the 12th house itself, giving an aspect back to your 6th house itself. It's a good situation to be in. Don't get into argumentative situations unnecessarily with your bosses or with your teachers, students, if you're watching this video. So be careful on that front. But otherwise, as I said earlier, it's a phenomenal month when it comes to career. It's a phenomenal month when it comes to making gains out of your career as well. You are going to derive the right fruition of your efforts, which is translating early on in the month when we talk about finances. Yes, from a finance perspective, the first half of the month is indicating lots of positive gains. 11th lord is sitting in the 11th house itself. Your 2nd lord is forming that brilliant Raj Yoga and Dhan Yoga in your 10th house. However, as you progress, what are you going to be doing accumulating all this money, guys? Late May is the time where you are going to be bringing in some heavy expenses when it comes to luxury, when it comes to travel, maybe visiting spiritual retreats of sorts. all of that seems to be materializing because Venus will become conjunct with your ninth and sixth lord. So it may not be, please don't be miserly during this period, because sixth lord is in 12th. It could result into unnecessary expenses coming in from a health standpoint as well. But if you translate that into long distance journeys, go and visit a pilgrimage, go and spend a quality time with family, because after all, Venus being your fourth lord is coming into into the 12th house in combination with Jupiter. So it's a good time to spend with family out somewhere, taking those retreats, those spa outings, getting some massage for yourself, dining outside, eating good quality food, sattvic food, but at a upscale place may not be a bad idea. Visiting somewhere serene, like a mountainous place, might be a good holiday destination. Maybe Mercury's presence in the last week of May is going to further add to it. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education perspective, this is a brilliant month when it comes to education. Your fifth lord is moving 5 places away from itself, especially for foreign education, long distance studies, going and doing deeper research work. It's a good time to be immersing yourself in all those areas. In fact, Rahu is also placed in your 8th house. People who are trying to get into research of some sorts, who are trying to deep dive into AI or trying to bring some foreign elements in their education, I see good positive success coming in. You've got to stay in isolation, stay away. Group studies is not the best period. After all, you are getting good indication from your ninth lord in the 12th house, and then Mars also eventually coming out of its combustion. So it's a good time for foreign education, it's a good time for deep research, it's a good time for self-study, working in isolation, and ensuring that you're not bridging the gaps with your professors, with your teachers and mentors. They are very crucial for you this month along. From a health perspective, work-related stress could be at its peak by the middle of the month. After all, you have so much action happening. Please protect your chest area, your heart area. You could just be overworking, folks. I think this is one area where you'll have to figure out a way to draw that line from a work and balance perspective. Cancerians, you're very kind-hearted, soft people in general, but this time around you are going to be hyper workaholic, if I may say. Last but not the least, touching upon relationships. Somewhere or the other, relationships are going to become a top priority. You see, your seventh lord, for my married audience, is sitting in the ninth house itself. So there is good general benediction. However, there could be argumentative situations coming in the first half of the month. So be watchful on that front. Then from a romantic pursuit as well, I think there's a fabulous connection. Yes, Mars is combusted. It will come out of combustion, but its fifth movement and then connecting into the 10th house is indicating that you will try and take measures, initiatives towards your romantic partner, your romantic life, some sort of a travel coming into picture. Joint efforts coming into play there. But yes, there could be a lot of possessive energies also. As the month is progressing, you see that whilst Venus is giving an aspect back to the 5th house, you've got to see that there is a lot of energy coming into picture with respect to your siblings as well. So overall, good connections from that front. Hyper aggression sort of situations could be coming at workplace, and this is where I would want you to be careful, not be burning bridges with your superiors, bosses at your workplace. You could come across a little overly competitive. So that is the relationship aspect that you've got to take care. But coming more on the personal side of things, Jupiter and Venus are there in the 12th. Yes, it is great for spirituality, but it can also heighten the bed pleasures and in a very legitimate way with your partner, with your legitimate partner, with your better half for that matter. So increase in deep private intimacy matters could come into picture, and that is definitely coming into play in the second half of the month. All in all, I think there's a lot of positives. If you are able to, the remedies or the checkpoint that I would want to call out is Cancerians, if you are able to keep a check on your ego, if you are able to keep yourself tussling versus the superiors, people who are at a step above you, either in terms of age or in terms of experience or in terms of designation, if you are able to just let your work speak, your actions speak for them, I think this is going to be one of the most brilliant months for you guys ahead. And if you guys have enjoyed this perspective, this thought process that I've brought to the table, it's an opportune time for you to smash on that like button, subscribe to Dave Astrology, and keep watching. Now, Leos, as you would notice chronologically in the first part of the month, in the early part of May, your Lord Sun is sitting exalted in the ninth house. Brilliant. I think it is continuing from the second half of April and it is trickling down into the first half of May as well, where supreme luck, the right support of your Lagna Lord, your Rashi Lord, if you're watching from a Leo moon sign perspective, is going to come into picture because divine grace is protecting you. This is a time where your long distance travels could be highly favored, your foreign education, support from your customers, bosses, gurus, teachers, mentors, research related work, studies in foreign lands, research with respect to higher education, etc. All of that is see some phenomenal growth opportunities coming your way. Then middle part of the month, around 11 to 14th, is the time where Mars is also entering into your ninth house, and this is a time where debates over religion or beliefs are going to become prominent. This is a time where some bit of confrontation could come into picture with your bosses, gurus, mentors as well. So you've got to be careful on that front. Mars will remain combusted until the later part of the month, and Sun, which is your Lagna Lord, again gaining directional strength along with Mercury, will be moving into your 10th house. So I see massive authority coming your way, social respect coming your way, acknowledgement, rise of social status, opportunities for promotion and stuff, which happens to be, by the way, your 10th Lord is moving into your 11th house, where it becomes in conjunction with Jupiter. So that's a prominent shift which comes into picture, and therefore your 9th, 10th, 11th, all those three houses are getting mega activation during this phase. I like this phenomenon. Jupiter's presence any which ways in your 11th is a good one. It's not a bad situation to be in. And the last part of the month, you have Mars coming out of combustion, giving you that righteousness, that courage as well to deal with situations whilst being on the right side of the spectrum to your belief system, so to speak. Mercury will also become conjunct in this phase with Jupiter and Venus. Man, it's a conditional benefit, but massive wealth yoga getting unlocked for you folks. Let's try and break this down, guys, in terms of the areas of your life that are going to be getting impacted. And you've got to understand here, starting first and foremost from your career perspective. This is a month where I see Leos, you guys, stepping into a major leadership role. Some sort of a leadership authority based phenomenon is coming into picture. And whilst you have ample of luck support coming in your way, your Lagna Lord is sitting exalted in the ninth house. Seems as if either you will have very strong benediction of your bosses, gurus, teachers, mentors, or Leos, this is a time you must go out and call out your bosses as well, that you could be very fortunate for their success too. I think this is a time where your bosses could also be gaining a lot of growth. They could also be doing pretty well in their career at this point in time. Yes, from a job perspective, there is a Vipreet Raj Yoga which is in place. Saturn, being the lord of your 6th house, is placed in your 8th house. So some bit of challenging situations, troublesome situations could come before you find success. But guys, this is not a shift or a phenomenon coming into picture this month. So you might as well have experienced those difficult things in the past, and this could be the time where things start materializing your way. Luck is falling into place in your direction during this bit. Very importantly, what you will see is your 11th Lord is 11 places away from itself into the house of destiny and fortune in conjunction with an exalted sun. So brilliant situation to be there on that front too. And Venus sitting in its own sign, in the sign of Taurus, in the 10th house, being the third Lord. So there's a lot of proactiveness, there is a lot of initiative taken mindset that you are going to bring to the table throughout this period. Gains continue to come down. Now, if you are a business person watching this video, if you're self-employed, if you're trying to do something of your own, well, the interesting bit is that there is a lot of focus on joint finances. After all, Saturn, being the 7th Lord, is second to itself in your 8th house. There could be some hidden matters also coming into picture. Saturn, after all, is giving a third aspect to your 10th house. It will test you with your grit, with your karma, with your initiatives, with your efforts, so to speak. But in the 1-7 axis, you have Ketu and Rahu. Rahu is in your 7th house, guys. It's an important phenomenon because it is in trine to Jupiter, which is in your 11th, and it is giving an activation that with your partner, in your business, with your spouse, some way or the other, luck is getting activated. I think female bosses having connections leveraged through your spouse or with women in and around your life is going to be meaningfully important for you during this phase. So it's going to be impactful from all those areas as well. I think as you move towards the middle part of the month, stepping into that leadership position where Sun gains that directional strength, coming into the sign of Taurus, Lord Venus coming into the 11th house, it's forging tremendous connection, and then that impetus coming in from Mars as well. So as you move towards the course of the month, Mars is your 4th lord coming into its own sign in the 9th house and being the 9th lord as well, coming out of combustion. So I think not only the start of the month is amazing, you just continue to build on the momentum as the week continues. In fact, moving into the month of June will be quite phenomenal and extraordinary when I look into all these bits. After all, Jupiter will also come into exaltation. So a very good month with respect to career, work, job, business, profession, etc. From a finances perspective, what I notice is that the gains coming in your life are going to be spectacular in the last 2 weeks of the month of May from a finance standpoint. Venus, of course, is coming in conjunction with Jupiter, but that doesn't mean anything is hurting you bad in the start of the month itself, because Jupiter in itself is a very positive planet. After all, it's your your 5th and your 8th lord forming a connection with your 11th, so it's activating 3 of your 4 financial houses. It's a very, very good phenomenon. From there, it's giving an aspect to your 3rd, 5th and 7th, and therefore it is continually reminding you that your own hard work, your proactiveness, your partnership, your social connections, your network based connections with your friend, with your business colleagues, with your professional colleagues is going to be giving you some good outcome. But your karma, your hard work is going to further amplify it from the second half of the month. So that's a very good bit coming into picture. Your expenses could look into control, but I think this is a month where we should not be too worried on the negative bits coming into picture. Yes, Saturn being the anti of sorts, sitting in the 8th with that Ashtam Shani, and especially from a Leo moon perspective, can have bit of an impact on the emotional and unexpected expenses coming into picture, transformative situations arising. But still, I think there is going to be an immense possibilities for you to find the right gains coming in your way. So very positive period from a career, from a finances perspective. Now, for my student audience watching this video from an education perspective, again, because of that tremendous support coming in from your 9th house as well as your 5th lord, which is Jupiter placed in your 11th, I see you continue to build momentum. In fact, your 4th lord is coming out of combustion in the last part of the month. So not only you will be able to put in the right effort, your mentors will be supporting you, your teachers, gurus, etc. will be giving you the right guidance. You will be able to bring in focus as you progress over the weeks, and you will be able to absorb, make good use of your knowledge for your own success. From a competition perspective, the 6th lord is forming a Viparit Raj Yoga, so there is still a possibility, but with the favor of the luck, with the favor of the destiny, with your Lagna lord in such spectacular position, the 9th lord reaching its to its 9th point is giving ample of opportunities for you to shine in higher education, foreign education, research of some sorts throughout the course of the month, deep diving into matters and improving on yourself. As we move towards the health part of it, again, excellent vitality. The risks, the danger zones that I had referred to in the April month, with as Mars steps out of your 8th house and enters into the 9th, I think all those problems are finally behind you. You are going to be recuperating. I don't have any negative bet. You see, the Lagna lord is doing so beautifully well in the course of this month, and then Mars, which was struggling along with Saturn in your 8th, is also stepping out. It's giving a lot of positive energy to me. The only bit is just be watchful of your father's health. Saturn, Ashtam Shani bit is something we cannot ignore, guys. But a very positive month with respect to your health, vitality, any kind of emotional and mental issues. Also, you will see yourself coming out as the month progresses. Now, very important with respect to relationships. This is going to be a month where you are going to be, building on your social circle. You are going to be building on through social events, through high profile events that you could be attending. You could be leveraging your formal connections, your business partnerships, your relationships. You could be getting into new form of connections as well during this period. See, Rahu is there in your seventh, and it gives a clear indication, if not you, your spouse, your business partner could be bringing in that exuberance in your life. Yes, Ketu is in the Lagna. It's not easy to become too social when Ketu is in the Lagna, but you know how to navigate with situations in your life, and I do not have any doubts on that front. Now, as I said, from a relationship perspective, it's a decent time with your spouse. If you are married, if you are into romantic relationships or looking forward to get into romantic relationships, Jupiter's presence in the 11th house is giving an indication that some sort of a connection in terms of romance could either form in your friend circles, or you could build deeper bonds of friendship with your romantic partner itself, with your business partner too. There are new avenues of relationships coming into picture from a professional relationship standpoint. Very good support coming in from bosses, from from superiors, from teachers, from mentors, from guides. Expansion of your social network, ability for you to connect with more people who can bring in some positivity in your life is also definitely hitting in you there. I see that some of you could also have the possibility of turning your personal relationships into romantic relationships, maybe with friends, and graduating that into a next level is probable in the later half of the month. Now, last but not the least, from a remedy perspective, not much to call out here, but just maintain that discipline, that respect, that dignity with your father, with your superiors, with your mentors during this period. When Mars is in combustion, there could be some bit of tricky situation arising, some bit of arguments, disagreements coming into picture. Bringing in that certain degree of humility is not a bad idea. Yes, you are in a commanding situation. Sun is moving amazingly well for you folks during this period, but if you are able to maintain that momentum of respect with authority, I think there is nothing that is going to be stopping you this month around, Leos. I hope you have a fantastic month ahead, and I hope you've enjoyed the perspective that I've brought to the table today through this reading. If you have enjoyed this, then please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Now, Virgos, if we go chronologically as to how things are shaping up for you in the month of May, in the first 10 days, the early phase is indicating that Sun and Mercury are placed in your 8th house. Yes, Sun is sitting exalted in your 8th, being the Lord of your 12th house. It is forming a Vipreet Raj Yoga of a very powerful kind in your 8th, which means that this is going to be a period of sudden shocks, sudden events coming into picture. It could also be a period that could be bringing in some changes, implications with respect to joint finances if you're dealing in terms of your business venture, or with your spouse for that matter. It could also be an opportune time for you to gain success with respect to research, with respect to getting into details of something. However, it can also be dramatically impactful with respect to government related matters. Now, Mars will be sitting in the 7th house during this phase in conjunction with Saturn, and therefore, whilst this Mars is combusted, he is the 8th lord sitting in the 7th house. So you've got to remember that there could be some bit of friction coming in business partnership, coming in your relationship. Third party kind of tricky situations could also be arising. Virgos, you've got to be careful on that front during this phase. Mid-May is the period where Mars will be entering into your 8th house. Now it is sort of a danger zone. 8th lord is coming into the 8th, so not bad from that perspective, but tricky with respect to accidental situations, with respect to your health. So you've got to be careful on that front, Virgos. Sun and Mercury will be moving into your 9th house, into the sign of Taurus. You see, you have presence of Venus in the first half in this place itself. So that's a good sign for that matter, because Venus happens to be the lord of your second house and your 9th house. So 9th lord is in the 9th house itself for you, which is not a tricky situation to be in. And later it enters into your 10th, where it comes in conjunction with your Jupiter. It's a planet of expansion. So I see some bit of shift coming in with respect to your luck, with respect to your long distance travels coming into picture. And Venus's conjunction in the 10th is also going to be bringing in a lot of opportune possibilities for you. Now, late part of the month is where Mars will be leaving the combustion. So that's a good shift. However, this will also be a prominent period for you to be doing surgeries, or some sort of sudden shifts could be possible whilst driving your car, whilst operating heavy machinery and equipments and stuff. You've got to be careful, Virgos. This is a crucial time. Some bit of an impact, breakdown of machinery, etc., could also happen in this month. Mercury, which is your Lagna lord, will enter into the 10th house. Directionally, it's going to gain strength. It's going to come in conjunction with Venus and Jupiter. So this is going to be a period where you could see tremendous amount of career elevation coming into picture. All in all, as you progress through the course of the month, good dramatic shifts coming into picture. Let's break this down, this journey from the various aspects of life, starting from the career aspect itself. Now, if you see, from a job perspective, you have Rahu sitting in your 6th, Ketu in your 12th. It is one of the best situations to be in. Trying to this Rahu is, Jupiter placed in the sign of Gemini in your 10th house. So overall, there is a lot of auspicious positive impact coming into picture for you, Virgos. I see from a job perspective or overall karma perspective as well, you are going to see some smart thinking, top of the mind strategies coming into picture, which are going to work in your favor in the long term. So it's a good placement of Rahu to be in. I like this placement. It's a strong Shatru Hanta yoga. Though your 6th lord is sitting second to itself in the 7th house, so you will be working towards actionizing your efforts and trying to see some rewards. Saturn is giving an aspect back to the Lagna itself. It's not a terrible state to be in, but Saturn is sort of getting an exalted situation. See, the 7th house placement for Saturn is a good placement to be in, and therefore people who are employed, it gives good possibilities of success and growth coming in your life. Again, for people who are self-employed, who are running their own businesses, who are watching this video, if they're in partnership businesses, enterprise of some sorts, you have Saturn sitting in the 7th. 7th lord is placed in your 10th house in a Kendra position itself. And then you, more importantly, will be having the expenses lord coming into exaltation. So some sort of a major investment is definitely coming into picture in the first half of the month. Now that investment could be either towards your machinery, equipment, or it could be some sort of an investment from a financial outflow perspective. I'm going to touch upon that in a bit. But the second half of the month is looking incredible. You are going to be gaining fame, respect, and I anticipate a highly pleasant environment coming into picture. Sun coming into your 9th house, Venus, Jupiter, and even Mercury at the fag end of the month are all placed directionally. Other than Venus, it's a brilliant situation for Jupiter and Mercury to be in the 10th house. There is going to be a lot of positivity. Social respect and acclamation could also be coming your way, Virgo. So it's a very positive highlight of the month from a career work perspective, if I may, in the second half of the month. Now, from a finances perspective, first part or early part of the month is providing the opportunity to resolve any tax related issues or insurance related matters. This is important because Sun, which denotes government, which denotes authorities, is exalted in the 8th. There is a high probability that many of you could get high degree of refunds. Something financially from a tax perspective works out in the way as you desire and anticipate things to move. So it's a good bit. As I said, from an expenses perspective, this is a time where you should maybe invest in treasury bills, maybe go towards government bonds, see if you can do something with respect to insurance related matters, because success definitely seems to be coming for you in that direction. Sun is exalted in the 8th, but it is giving a debilitated aspect to your second house. So whilst those investments will come out of your pocket, they will return. The return on that investment has to be thought from a long-term duration perspective itself. That is what is going to be the mandate for you. Now, the other bit that you have to understand is that Venus, through the course of the first half, is sitting in your 9th house, being the 9th lord and the second lord. So your decision making with respect to these investments may not be bad at all. I think you will be making the right judgment call. Trust in yourself. Getting some feedback from a mentor, from a teacher, from a guru, from a boss may not be a bad thing. You will be able to navigate through those situations quite smartly. Now, late May is the period where some sort of a stability is going to come in your income through your career itself. The reason I say that, you have good, strong presence of planets in your 10th. Rahu is giving an amplifier effect to your 10th as well throughout this period. Sun is going to be placed in your 9th house. 8th lord is entering into the 8th house itself. Not a bad situation to be in, at least from a finance perspective. Those sudden shocks may not be as detrimental, so to speak. Yes, the tricky part is Saturn will be giving an aspect to Sun with its 3rd aspect, and it being the 12th lord. So somewhere unnecessary spending might come into picture, but it may not be very harmful for you. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education perspective, this is going to be the month where your focus is going to be shifting towards matters of philosophy, towards law, towards legal matters, so to speak, or higher education during the middle part of the month as well could become very prominent. You see, Venus's presence being the 9th lord in the 9th house is a good situation to be in. Rahu's presence in the 6th is again indicating that there is an opportune placement for you to gain good success with respect to competitive examinations, any kind of challenges that you have to embark upon, higher form of learning, long distance learning, post graduation, research related work. All of those avenues are going to be very prominent and positive. Saturn is the 5th lord for you. It is sitting in the 7th house. Not a bad situation to be in. I think this is going to be a time where you are going to leverage all that you've planned for the long run. So positive bit there as well, because the 12th lord is getting Viparit Raj Yoga and then later on coming into the 9th house. Very high probability that many of you could be pursuing foreign education or initiatives in that direction will come into picture somewhere from the middle, or from 10th 15th of May onwards. Now, moving on with respect to health. Now, this is where Virgos, I will want to draw some caution, because caution is definitely required with Mars entering your 8th house. Possibilities of accidents, reckless driving, unnecessary cuts, whilst you are working in the kitchen, chopping some stuff, operating on heavy machinery. Of course, I time and again I've been calling out whilst you are driving and stuff. This is going to be the period where you've got to be careful on all those areas. It's something where you've got to take an extra layer of precaution for that matter. Last but not the least comes the relationship aspect of things. And Virgos, this is a time where you will have to be careful, especially early on in the month, because you have your 8th lord 12 places away from itself into your 7th house in a combust situation. It's not at all great for my married audience. Because I see some kind of unexpected situations, third party situations, etc. also coming to a rise, and that might not be the best thing that you may want to pursue during this phase. Saturn is going to test you because it's the 6th lord along being the 5th lord as well. So you see, that bit is something that you will have to be careful about with this shift of Saturn, because it can bring in tremendous possibilities for my single audience watching this video to pursue your relationship relationships further. But it's also the lord of the 6th, which means divorces, separation, difficulties. 12th from the 7th, and that coming into the 7th can bring in complications. 8th and 6th lord are forming conjunction in your 7th house. This is not the best thing with respect to relationship and partnerships. Virgos, please practice control on yourself, on your decisions, on your communications, on your actions for that matter. As the month pursues, the good part is Venus is placed in the 9th house itself. So there's a lot of blessing coming in from that perspective. Good relationship and bond coming in with your colleagues at your workplace, with respect to your siblings, even with your mother and father for that matter. So all of it looks pretty decent and good. It's just a challenging bit in the first half of the month for married audience. Now, people who are single and looking forward to get married, guys, this is a decent period from that perspective too, because your 5th lord is in the 7th house. So the possibilities of you pursuing a relationship is there. Again, I cannot make a decision just on this because Jupiter or Venus is not giving any aspect to that. Venus will come in conjunction with Jupiter, so that's another auspicious sign coming into picture. But you will still have to look into your natal dasha, antar dasha, to come to a more conclusive evidence of marriage possibility from relationship, from romance to a more serious commitment is coming into picture or not. Now, by late May, you are going to find yourself heavily focused on your career. And there's a high probability that many of you Virgos are literally skip and forget about the relationship dramas that could be coming into picture, because 6th lord eventually is still staying back in your 7th. So that thing is going to be on top of the radar. My recommendation, at least in the first half of the month, keep a check on your communication, on your aggression, on your speech, because that can be tricky and it can be detrimental as well. Now, if I were to touch upon remedies or caveats that I would say, I cannot emphasize enough on your health aspect. So be careful, be vigilant while operating on heavy machinery. You've got to be avoiding risky physical activities as well. Whilst driving, you've got to be careful. So see what precautions you can take. And in this case, one spiritual remedy I would recommend is that please go ahead and chant Hanuman Chalisa, because it is going to bring in a lot more safeguard of sorts, benediction from Hanumanji himself to your life. And if all of this makes sense, you loved the insights that I've brought to the table, then I request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah. Now, Libras, as you guys can see, from a chronological order perspective, the early part of the month of May, in the first 10 days specifically, if I were to touch upon, you have an exalted sun sitting in your 7th house. Sun happens to be the lord of your wish gains, wish fulfillment, desires, target achievement and stuff. So it's your 11th lord getting exalted in your 7th house. It is clearly indicating that this is a time where your partner could be dominating. At the same time, they could come across highly successful as well. There is a strong possibility that you will find some sort of substantial gain coming in, either in your partner's life, or there could be a gain of your partner, gain because of your partner coming into life as well. So all those probabilities are definitely indicated. However, you might have to compromise with your partner. See, when the 7th house is seeing an exaltation of your 11th, which means somewhere or the other, if you're a married person watching this video, the wishes, desires of your partners are going to take some level of supremacy in their lives, in your life for that matter. Mars is in the 6th house, which is indicating that you will be able to crush all the debts. Yes, it is sitting with Saturn as well, albeit Mars is combusted, but there's a very strong Shatru Hanta Yoga which is coming into picture for you guys. So it is giving the ability for you to fight against any kind of diseases, difficulties, challenges, and maintain a discipline in your day-to-day activities. Your 2nd lord is sitting in the 6th house, so you are going to find success with hard work and your daily regimen. Now, middle part of the month is when between 12th, 13th, 14th of May onwards, you see Mars is entering into your 7th house and forming Rochak Yoga. It's coming into a Kendra position for that matter, and it is coming to its own sign, albeit he will be coming out of combustion later into the month. However, I would want you guys to be a bit careful during this period, because some bit of disagreement, confusion, argumentative situations could come in either in your marriage or with respect to your business partners as well, with your spouse or with your in your partnerships. Sun and Mercury though will be moving into your 8th house, and therefore some bit of sudden shifts of events could also come into picture. So this is a time you'll have to be careful. But the good bit is Venus, which is your lung lord, is coming into your 9th house. So presence of your lung lord in the 9th house in itself is a very prominent positive shift which is coming into picture. And to make matters more interesting, it is going to be coming in conjunction with Jupiter as well, which is another positive bit that you can anticipate during this bit. Now the last part of the month is where in around 25th to 31st of May, you will see that Mars is coming out of combustion. This is a good thing. Your partner could become very protective, could become possessive, or you could become, you could realize that you have to work in your relationship, in your marriage, in your partnership, and you could show similar amount of discipline, aggression, or possessive tendencies in your partnerships, in your marriage for that matter as well. So Mars present is not detrimental in the 7th house. It's just that you've got to maneuver that energy, that passion, that aggression in a smart way. Channelize it is what is required. Mercury will also become conjunct with Venus and Jupiter in the 9th house. So there is a lot of activation of the 9th house coming into picture. Travel coming into play, luck getting activated. There's a high probability that you could take some sort of a holiday with your family, or you might have to travel as well during this period. But guys, let's try and break this down in terms of the areas of life that could get impacted during this period. And first and foremost is, let's see it from a career perspective. Now, what you would notice here is that, of course, your 10th lord is Moon, which continues to move all across, but Jupiter being your 6th lord. So for overall karma, or more importantly for your job perspective, if you are a working person, Jupiter's placement is in the sign of Gemini in your 9th, and lung lord is also going to give a lot of impetus to it from the second half of the month. So people who are working, people who are employed somewhere, there's a high probability that in the second half of the month you could see some sort of travel thing working out for you. Travel could be related to work. It could be, related to pilgrimages, some sort of a holy site, conference related meetups, research related activities, and therefore higher education, higher form of learning is coming into play. Research could pay off as well positively for you folks in this period. So there's a good pivot, there's a good shift coming into picture from a job perspective. Jupiter continues to be in this placement and will later come into exaltation as well from June. So Libra's May month again is going to give a sound trigger in terms of possibilities for a job change, new work opportunities coming into picture, more so once Venus provides support. So second half of May is when things will start becoming far more optimistic, far more positive for you in that direction. For people who are running their own businesses, who are self-employed, who are who are startup entrepreneurs watching this video, your 7th lord Mars is going to enter into the 7th house itself. So from a business perspective, as I said, mid of the month, around March 13-14 period is the time where ample amount of support is coming into picture. In fact, prior to that as well, in the first half of the month, you have presence of Mercury, which is the planet of business and relationship. It's your 9th lord sitting in the 7th house with an exalted sun. So it's pretty prominent and good period for success coming in with respect to your business initiatives and things like that. So it's a positive month all in all. You are only going to get more support. I think if you learn how to channelize your passion and energy in terms of fulfillment, you will find a lot of satisfaction from all those areas. As the month progresses, things are going to improve. But remember, once sun gets into the 8th house, I'm not a huge fan of luminaries coming into the 8th house. This is a time where you will have to be careful about any kind of planning any kind of strategies that could be happening behind your back. You might not be aware, irrespective of whether you are in a job or in a business of yours. So be careful during that phase. However, Mars will provide ample strength to you to overcome the difficulties. Communication is something that you'll have to be careful throughout, irrespective of your job, work, career profile, if you're a student, no matter what, because Mars continues to give an aspect to your Lagna. So there could be some aggressive tendencies and they will be detrimental. Libras, you are very balanced people, polite people, kind people. So you cannot be playing into the energies of planets that are not natively your friend. So if you get into those sort of behavioral things, showing too much of an aggression, that can turn out not so well aligned. So think on those lines, but otherwise I see good opportunities from a job perspective. As I said, for people with the second lord placed in the sixth house, Jupiter continuously being there, things improving with the Lagna lord going in conjunction with Jupiter in the ninth house, and Sun exalted for business people in the first half. In the second half, Mars itself entering there, and from a job perspective too, it remains quite prominent. So good month from a career, work, profession perspective, guys. Now, if we look from a financial standpoint as well, I anticipate some bit of sudden gains coming into picture this month. See, the first half of the month is where the 11th lord is sitting exalted in the 7th house, which is indicating that prominent wealth generation, creation opportunities will come into picture through your spouse, in collaboration with your spouse, or in the life of your spouse itself. So very clearly it is coming out through the other party, with the partnership, so to speak. Even business partnerships are going to give those leverage. Mars, which is your second lord, is in combustion, but it is forming that connection with the sixth house, which means your daily hard work, etc., is going to reward you with respect to your gains as well. Yes, there could be some bit of a spending coming into picture, but do not worry. Vipareet Rajyog is being formed by Mercury when it comes into the eighth house. After some bit of a hassle, you will be able to navigate through those situations. Some expenses will eventually lead into more gains, so don't have your panic button stuck at any point in time. Now, but as you progress through the course of the month, you will see possibilities of unexpected gains coming into picture from the second half of the month. As I said, the luminary 11th lord is entering into the 8th house. It is the house of joint finances as well with your spouses. It's the house of your in-laws as well coming into picture. So success seems to be coming in that direction. Then you've got to understand your 5-11 axis as well, where Rahu and Ketu are placed. See, Ketu's presence in the 11th house continues to highlight the fact that income, money, success will come your way as long as you are not deeply motivated or chasing that. So just continue to run the drum roll, continue to work in whatever you are doing, be it in terms of your business or with respect to your job, and gains will trickle down your way. The important bit is that Mercury, Sun, in the earlier part of the month, Venus as well, they all are placed in your 8th house and giving an aspect to your second house. It's a prominent situation to be in. Second lord will come into a Kendra position from the mid of the month. Again, a good situation to be in. And throughout this bit, Jupiter is giving an aspect to your Lagna, to your first house. So it is clearly highlighting that irrespective of all situations, there is going to be abundance in your life. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education standpoint, this is one of the best months for people who are pursuing their university education, graduation, post-graduation sort of things, especially for people who are applying for foreign education, traveling abroad in a foreign place, looking for higher education, research and development sort of work. I see prominent success coming in that way. Rahu has been in your 159 sort of trine axis. It is in trine with Jupiter. I think a strong prominent possibility for Libras to pursue something internationally is there. The good part is your Yoga planet Saturn continues to be placed in the sign of Pisces, at least for the next one more year. And it is a very good period from a competitive success coming in your way as well. Mars is also going to be there, albeit combusted, but sitting in there. Your family, your parents, your near and dear ones are going to be motivating you. They are going to be uplifting you in this journey so that you have the right inspiration, you have the right momentum going in as you prepare for something competitive. From a health perspective, Libras, you'll have to be careful with respect to your urinary or your lower abdomen areas, because you see the 8th house activation is coming into picture, and that is why UTI related infections or some challenges in that part of the body in your genitals could come into picture. From a lower abdomen perspective, Mars is going to be generating a lot of heat once it enters into your 7th house. So be watchful on all those areas. Continue to practice or consume enough amount of water. That is going to be very important for you. Now, from a relationship perspective, this is going to be extremely important. Libras, you cannot let aggression take over you. I mean, that is not your style, that is not your game, that is not something that you are good at. The risk that I anticipate is that there is some degree of volatility which is coming into picture, at least until May 25th, until when you do not see Mars coming out of its combust status. In fact, this is a time where you should let your partner take the lead, let your spouse, your business partner in your relationships, etc., let them take a lead. Now, I'm not saying that you must tolerate dominance in the form of abuse. That has never been my prerogative on this channel to propagate anything negative. But see, at times we've got to be perseverant, we've got to be patient, and there could be ups and downs coming in our relationships, especially with respect to your marital relationship. You will have to give some bit of a leeway to your partner, given that Sun is coming into exaltation. Mercury is there. It's not one of the most ideal directional strength situations for both of these planets to be there in the 7th house. Therefore, argumentative situations or confusion of sorts could come into picture. Yet I like the presence of Mercury in your case because it is your 9th lord as well. So there could be some bit of a blessing, there could be some bit of a sanity that prevails in you, because Jupiter is sitting in the 9th house, giving an aspect to your Lagna, giving an aspect to your 5th house. It's good for single people watching this video as well. Romantic life, for singles, could be on a high. This is a good period for you to pursue opportunities for your kids as well. There could be growth, momentum, etc. coming in for your children too. Yes, there will be argumentative situations with your family member. Your speech could be very harsh, especially in the first half of the month when Saturn and Mars are in conjunction. Even at your workplace, you've got to be careful as to how you are replying back to people. Please do not be snapping back. Yes, you will be in a powerful situation, you will be able to handle things, but do not let that aggression go overboard. Further, as we move ahead and Mars comes into the 7th house itself, that does bring the probability. See, Mars from here will be giving an aspect, 4th aspect to your 10th house as well. It's a debilitated aspect. So you'll have to be careful, because this aspect is then falling into your Lagna and to your 2nd house as well from the 7th house Aries sign placement of Mars. So you will have to be careful in how you are choosing your words, how you are reacting to situations, how you are dealing with people as such, because that could be one of the most tricky things. Do not let others get the worst of you. You have that ability to balance relationships and articulate in the best way possible. Now, if I were to touch upon the remedies or caveats that you could practice, this is a time where you must try to build relationships with your partner. Try and maintain absolute transparency with your spouse or with your business partner, or else 8th house placements with Sun coming into that situation can bring in sudden shocks. As long as you are able to let some bit of your partner's ego win and bring that submissive, protective, positive energies into the relationship, control your tongue, don't be argumentative, you will find that this is going to be a very interesting month. A lot of positivities are in store in the month of May for you guys, Libras. Now, if you've enjoyed the thought process and the insights that I bring to the table, well, this is the most opportune time for you to smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Now, Scorpios, as you guys can see on the screen here, you have all the shift happening in the bottom half of your chart, because you have on your axis Rahu and Ketu sitting in your 4th and 10th, and I've been telling all the water signs Ketu's placement in the 10th, I've been reading on the comments as well, has not been easy for your job, money, income, work, career, profession perspective. But hang in there, guys. You've got to keep fighting, because things are going to get better as the shifts further come into play. But early part of the month, in the first 10 days, you observe that, in fact, for the first 15 days, Sun is in exaltation in your 6th house. Very strong Shatruhanta Yoga coming into picture. 10th Lord in exaltation. This is a time where you can literally incinerate your enemies, diseases, debts, difficulties coming in your life. Mars, which is your lung lord, is in the 5th house. Now, it is in conjunction with Saturn, which makes things a bit difficult. Saturn is your 3rd and your 4th lord. But you've got to understand, this combination is not as bad for you folks, Scorpios, as for others, because your lung lord is a more powerful planet for you, bigger fighter, and after all, Saturn is a Kendra lord as well, so it is equally important. And the two Kendra lords forming a connection in the trine house is not as bad. Yes, Saturn has been acting as a panoti with its presence in your 5th house. It's not been easy on your income, it's not been easy on your savings, it's definitely not been easy on your partnerships, on your marriage and stuff. But Mars is continuously sort of giving a fight there. Unfortunately, the combust status of your lord has not been of much help. Mid of the month is the season of transits coming into picture, where your lung lord Mars is going to be transiting into your 6th house, and it is going to be coming into its own sign. So that's another positive shift coming into picture. This is a time where you are going to bring in further aggression in terms of your work, in terms of being workaholic, taking the battles head on, fight with a high very passionate fighting spirit, so to speak. You could also be immersed with a lot of difficulties, but the good part is that in the later part of the month, Mars is going to come out of his combust status. So we'll touch upon that in a bit, but this is a time where you continue with that Shatruhanta Yoga, you continue with that unstoppable rhythm, that energy within you. Sun and Mercury though will be moving into your 7th house, so directionally not the best situation to be in place, but the 10th lord is 10 places away from itself, forming a conjunction with your 8th lord in the 7th house. So ego clashes coming into marriage, some bit of difficult situations coming into marriage are possible, but it can also indicate elevation of status for your spouse, because lord of wish fulfillment is in conjunction with the 10th lord and sitting in your 7th house, so could bring in career growth and new opportunities for your spouse as well. So you've got to be cognizant on that front. And then Venus will be becoming conjunct with Jupiter. I'm not huge fan of planets getting into the 8th house, but maybe this is one of the positive bits. Kuber Yoga coming into picture in your 8th house. So some positive shifts occurring there. Now, in the late part of the month, you will realize that Mars is coming out of its combust status. Absolutely necessary. And Scorpios, you are going to see a revival in your physical vitality as well coming during this phase. So that's a brilliant bit. And then Mercury is going to join that cluster of planets, being the 8th lord in the 8th house itself. So this is indicating solid interest towards occult, towards astrology, towards unearned wealth, towards speculative unexpected gains coming into life, towards towards unearned wealth materializing in some shape or form. Deep research coming into picture as well. But let's try and break this down in terms of the various areas of life that are going to be impacted for you. So starting from your career standpoint, overall you are going to come across as a problem solving machine, Scorpios. This is going to be a period right from the beginning itself. 10th lord is sitting in the 6th house. Irrespective of you running your own business or venture or being in a job, there your karma is going to be at its best. You are going to be pumping in the right amount of effort from your side. So that's a positive sign. Yes, 8th lord, which is Mercury, is also going to be forming a Viparit Raj Yoga in your 6th house, which means some difficult earning or unearned wealth in the form of astrology for medicine people, etc., is going to be growing in the first part of the month itself. But all in all, as you progress through the course of this month, you will realize that whilst Sun is in this exaltation mode, Venus is sitting in its 7th house in its own sign itself. So people who are running their own businesses, who are trying to run their own startups, who are getting into new partnerships and stuff, Again, the 10th Lord's exaltation and solid presence of Venus is giving a promising sign with respect to your business partnerships flourishing too. Now, you've got to remember, just from a job perspective, Mars is sitting 12th to itself, but I will not consider it to be very tricky because Mars is your Lagna Lord and it is placed with Saturn, with the Lord of effort, with the Lord of knowledge in the house of intellect. So, Scorpios, I anticipate you will be putting your thinking hat, you will be putting that creative hat on in terms of addressing some of the challenging situations coming at your workplace. Yes, challenges could come up, but I think you'll put up a brilliant fight as the month progresses, though Mars is entering into the 6th house itself. So again, for people who are in work and job, I see that you will show further more promise in your career. Your 10th Lord is 10 places away from itself in the 7th. Yes, it's a natural point of debilitation because the directional strength is not great for Mercury and Sun here in the 7th house, but still, because of Bhavarth, Bhavam coming into picture and overall things looking optimistic, given your Lagna Lord's position, I would say that it's not a bad situation for your overall efforts. In fact, from a business perspective, there could be further expansion, unexpected expansion that could be coming into play as Venus becomes conjunct with Jupiter, or this could also result into career growth for your spouse too. So be positive and hopeful on that front as well. Now, from a finances perspective, as we see that there is definitely a very strong possibility of sudden payouts coming in with respect to insurance related matters, settlements with respect to inheritance, etc., coming into place, or joint wealth with your spouse, with your partner through in-laws, seeing some sort of a growth, some sort of a surge in the second part of the month once Venus is becoming in conjunction with Jupiter. Both of these planets, by the way, are giving an aspect back to your second house, which is a very promising thing. In fact, for most part of the month, Mars would also be giving an aspect to your 11th house. Your 11th Lord is coming into your 7th and then 8th as well. So the Dhana houses, the money houses, are forming connections with the money houses or with the Kendra, and it is indicating that May in itself could be looking promising for wish fulfillment, gains, good income coming into picture, along with the spouse or through spouse being the medium. So that's a positive bit there as well. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education perspective, this is a fabulous period. Rahu is indicating you are going to prioritize the areas of your learning. Saturn is going to put some bit of heaviness with respect to your certification, with respect to your education, but it is going to continue to make you grind in that direction. And Lagna Lord Mars entering there is giving some sort of positive, strategy, intellect, creative pursuit coming into place, such that in the second half you can reflect that into qualification of any kind of competitive examination, etc. In fact, in the first half as well, Sun is sitting in that house in exaltation. So for my student audience, this is a brilliant time from all those areas perspective. Again, it's also a great period for people who are in research, who are in medical research, who are in into AI related matters, who are working in astrology, some sort of areas that require deeper thinking, etc. You will see positivity. Venus and Jupiter's presence is giving a lot of solid positive indication for you folks in that direction as well. Data science, AI, ML, etc. Again, very solid fields for people to find success in this direction as well. Now, you've got to remember that Ketu is still sitting in the 10th house, so its aspects can be tad bit challenging, which means from a competition perspective, there could be situations where you feel like giving up. You could just feel like dropping the ball, and that is where you'll have to push yourself ahead and further to be in the game. So Scorpios, remember this bit, especially from an education perspective. Now, from a health standpoint, I see that as your Lagna Lord Mars is intensifying, it is only going to establish yourself better. The initial part of the month, of course, it is not a great situation to be in, but once Mars enters your 6th house, it is giving a promise that you would be ready to take initiatives, to take actions, to improve on your health, overcome any kind of diseases. And once Mars is coming in its full strength, it is coming out of its combust status, then I can anticipate, Scorpios, that your health would also be shaping towards its prime. Your vitality is going to increase to the next level. So a lot of positive shift coming in from that angle as well. Last but definitely not the least would be the relationships angle coming into picture. Now, this month again is indicating lot of intensity, lot of secretive intimacy coming into picture, especially in the late half of the month, once Venus is becoming conjunct with Jupiter. Now, presence of these two planets, I see a lot of positive angle actually coming in with you, your partner, your spouse for that matter, or it could be some hidden pursuits that you might want to, not hidden actually, but for single audience, there could be some bit of pursuits coming in with your romantic life as well, because your fifth lord is in the eighth house. So relationships from that perspective, with Venus giving some sort of an inkling, is giving a solid promise, but Venus is placed in your seventh house. So you will find that it is going to try and curtail any kind of difficulties coming in your relationships. It is going to try and bring in some bit of sanity as well in difficult situations. However, presence of Sun and Mercury in in your seventh house from the second half of the month can bring some bit of ego clashes. So you will have to look to succumb or to agree to the needs of your partner. Now, this can be both in your marital as well as your business relationship, more so from a business relationship perspective, because it is your 10th lord 10 places away in that situation in your seventh house. So those relationships can turn out tad bit tricky. From a romantic pursuit perspective, it's been a dry spell. Saturn is just making things all the more difficult. However, Mars is going to bring some bit of a fight, a lot of possessive energy into play. So now this is where you've got to be watchful. Some bit of possessiveness is great. A lot of it is not good. So you'll have to figure out what is working out in your specific situation. But as you see the month progressing, Mars will come out of it. Two malefics in the fifth house from a relationship perspective is definitely not great. It can be tad bit difficult for your siblings, argumentative situations coming up with them, or with respect to your kids, your children as well. However, as you advance through the month, Mars is going to enter into your sixth house. From there, it is going to give an aspect towards your ninth. So be watchful with your relationships with your bosses, superiors. That is something you'll have to be careful in how you navigate those things. But Venus's conjunction with Jupiter is saying that overall there is going to be positivity, good emotions that you are going to bring, especially in your home life. Both of them are giving an aspect to your second house. Good indication from that perspective. Now, before we wrap up the video, we'll got to talk about the remedies and some of the cautions that you can remember. See, this month around you have massive sixth house energies coming into picture, and therefore finding some sort of a discipline in your workout regime in terms of your exercise schedule is going to be a tremendous natural remedy in itself, where you are able to align those energies in the direction that you can leverage best. And all this thought process and analysis, if you feel it strikes good balance in terms of your understanding, folks, then you must reward this video with a smash on the like button, subscribing to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Now, my Sagittarius friends, as you would see that early May, first 10 days is a period where the exalted Sun is sitting in your fifth house, and this is a brilliant situation to be in, because ninth lord sitting in exaltation 9 places away from itself, Bhavam at its ultimate level is coming into picture for you folks. And this is definitely indicating that at least the first 15 days while Sun is here, there is going to be tremendous amount of creative intellect, strategic thinking, pride in children of sorts. Your children could make you proud about something, or there could be something optimistic with respect to education, foreign education, etc. coming in your life. So very prominent setup there. But Mars is sitting in the fourth house with Saturn in a combust situation, 12th to itself. So there is sort of a dispute like situation, some bit of a loss coming in from a mental and emotional peace standpoint. After all, your 12th lord is stated there. So that's the tricky bit in the early part of the month. Now, throughout this phase, of course, Venus is sitting in its own sign. So it is in Taurus in the sixth house. Usually, as a sparing change for Capricorns this time around, I said that Venus presence along with Jupiter is a good placement to be in. Not for you folks. However, it makes you empathetic, it makes you career oriented, it makes you disciplined with respect to your healing and stuff. So good from all those areas perspective. We'll of course deep dive into the impacts there. And Mercury is in your fifth house itself. Again, directionally, this is not one of the best situations to be in, but from a relationship perspective, seventh lord is in 11 places away. It gives the possibility of new romance or, romance leading into a formalization of relationships in the initial part. As, Mercury moves into the sign of Taurus, that vanishes away. In fact, Mercury is making multiple moves. But when we're talking about moves, middle part of the month is the phase where Mars will enter in your fifth house. It is indicating a lot of possessiveness, aggression coming in your romantic life, or there could be some dispute like situations arising either in your romance or with respect to your children as well for some of you. So you've got to be careful on that front. Sun and Mercury will be moving to the sixth house. This is brilliant now. A malefic conjunct with the prince is indicating strong focus coming in with respect to service, with respect to health, with respect to healing, and you could be addressing your loans, litigations, all those pressures here as well. And the good part is this is the same phase. So mid of the month is indicating a lot of positivities for you, Sagittarius, because Venus is entering into your seventh house, becoming conjunct with your Lagna lord, with Jupiter, which is your fourth lord as well. So it's the ultimate partnership yoga coming into picture, because this is a time, and I know it's the sixth lord which is entering the seventh house, so one might get very skeptical about some difficult situations coming into place. Yes, that is a probability. For some of you, difficulties could also come in your marriage, in your relationship, but remember, Jupiter is sitting, it's your Lagna lord, so I do not anticipate any damage as such coming into play. So I just wanted to make you understand, but let's break this down from a life areas that are getting impacted for Sagittarius through the course of this month. From a career standpoint, I anticipate massive boom coming in your business partnerships and public dealing, especially once Venus is becoming conjunct to Jupiter in your seventh house. You see, Lagna lord or fourth lord is 4 places away from itself in conjunction with the lord of gains. Yes, Venus is your sixth lord as well, but he's also the lord 6th to 6th, which is your 11th house. And when Venus is coming into this place, it does give the possibility of one achieving their targets, their goals, their objectives, taking on a leverage, taking on a loan. Some bit of a high risk game is getting indicated during this phase. And you've got to understand that there will be sort of Parivartan yoga in play with the 6th and the 7th lord into picture. So yes, the 7th lord is also going to be sitting 12th to itself, but it can also be cancellation of negative situations coming in life. So I see from a career perspective for for business people, you seem to be doing pretty well. Again, from a job perspective as well, I feel that things are looking quite positive, because Mercury, which represents your 10th house overall from your karma, it is transiting pretty well in the 5th house, 6th house, and even 7th later. So overall karma, etc., is looking good. But from a job perspective, especially, Venus is indicating that, and it is traversing through the 6th itself and then 7th second to itself. So from an for my audience who are self-employed, who are working as startup entrepreneurs, who are working in a job somewhere, or who are even contemplating new beginnings, I see a lot of positive shift momentum coming in, especially from the middle of the month. So make good use of that opportunity. Your Lagna lord is in exaltation for the first half, and then later is coming into the 6th house, which is promising new job, new work, new career opportunities coming in your way. So you should not have too much of a skepticism when it comes to your career things. I think any kind of new contracts, etc., might get signed pretty easily. So new dealings when it comes to your business, new job opportunity or promotion opportunity, those kind of contracts should work out seamlessly for you folks. From a finances perspective, mid of the month, what you will notice is that Mars is coming to its own sign, albeit it will be combusted. So you could see that from your stock speculative gains perspective, yes, there will be gains. I would, I would not say that you are going to have an absolutely difficult time, but see, Mars happens to be your 12th lord as well. So it denotes expenses, losses, and some sort of, not so thoughtful, not so strategic deals, investments made during this period might get detrimental. So in the second half, because your ninth lord will be in the sixth, you could have certain difficulties with respect to the wrong choices. However, things are looking far more optimistic in the first half of the month. So especially with respect to speculative gains, with respect to investment strategies, I wanted you guys to keep this in mind. Now, finances are also seen through joint ventures, partnerships with your spouse, etc. And that is where the second half of the month is indicating a lot of promise. Seventh house energies are fructifying, magnifying themselves pretty well, very solid. So I find that again working out objectively well for you folks. The other good bit from a financial gains perspective is, and this is where we were talking about Venus being the seventh lord, so not just necessary for business owners, but you could see financial gains through your spouse, through your wife, through your husband coming into picture, because Venus is becoming conjunct with Jupiter being the 11th lord. So, or they could see some sort of a promotion. That's a positive shift. Now, second lord and third lord for you folks is Saturn. It is sitting in the fourth, and this is where I would want to indicate Saturn will be making a shift into Revati. Many of you could be looking forward to make some sort of investments, some sort of an acquisition with respect to real estate, with respect to stable asset classes. So that possibility, Sagittarius, is there. Again, I would not be 100% confident in terms of making a comment just on the transit perspective. You will have to look into your natal dasha as well for a lot of this to materialize and fruition for you. Now, for my student audience, from an education standpoint, I see there is a very high competitive drive that you are going to showcase throughout the course of the month. In the initial part, you have Venus being the sixth lord. Sixth lord and sixth is going to give fight. Yes, it is Venus, so it is going to be a softer aspect of things, but doesn't mean that you are not going to be strategic. You are going to be polished. You are going to be representing your thought process pretty well. Ninth lord is in exaltation at that point in time. You seem to be doing pretty well. As the shift comes into picture, from the middle of the month, the sixth lord is becoming conjunct with the Lagna lord and the lord of the fourth house, which is knowledge, which means you will be able to utilize your knowledge for successful outcome in a competitive situation. And luck lord, fortune lord, sun is also sitting in the house of competition. So brilliant people for students to make an impactful outcome or successful venture with respect to competitive examinations, selection in some places. All those areas are looking quite prominent. From an education perspective, overall the fifth house is in decent situation. Mars coming into that house is also indicating that some sort of foreign connection could also work out. International studies, international this thing. It might not be to the highest of your expectations, but yes, it will still be significantly good. Now, from a health standpoint, people, you've got to be watchful with respect to acidity related issues, heartburn related issues, heat in your stomach, because Mars is forming that connection with your fifth, and then in your sixth you have Sun and Mercury coming into picture. Be watchful of your eyesight and skin related problems to Sagittarius. That is what is going to bother you through the course of this month. Now, relationships, and that seems to be not the last or actually the last, but definitely not the least bit from an area that is going to be impacting you through the course of this month, because this is the highlight of the month, I would say. Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury. At one point in time, there will be a cluster of these planets, which can be absolutely blissful, positive for married audience, for your business partnerships and relationships. There is going to be a lot of practicality. There is going to be wealth growth. There is going to be a lot of communication. Now, usually I do not like Mercury in this place, but Mercury is right now coming to its own sign. So it's a positive bit for you folks, Sagittarius. And therefore, I say that there is going to be an absolute bliss in your partnership, be it your marriage or in your business relationships as well. talking about my singleton audience out here. For my singles folks, you are having a very strong potential of meeting somebody intelligent, somebody extremely wealthy, royal by nature, or extremely good looking, because you see the ninth lord is coming and sitting in exaltation in the first half of the month in your fifth house itself. So that indicates a lot of positivity there. Many of you who are in relationships could look forward to transform that into more of a solid commitment into marriage, and a deeper commitment of sorts because of that fifth and seventh connection coming into picture. But you've got to remember that there is going to be a lot of possessiveness, there is going to be a lot of aggression also coming in your relationships in the second half of the month. So that is something that you will have to traverse. Overall, Sagittarius, there could be some bit of lack of mental and emotional peace in some shape or form. Now, I have been giving all these positive things underlining, but you've got to remember that Saturn with Mars sitting in your fourth, either it can cause trouble to your mother or some bit of lack of emotional peace. Now, that could be because of relationships or some other matter, but somewhere or the other, it is about your relationship with yourself as well, which has to be taken care of too. So I just thought I must highlight that bit as well. But overall, again, as I said, the highlight of the month is going to be you building upon your relationships, maybe taking that a step further with the right person, or maybe with your life partner, just growing and blossoming to the next level for that matter. Last but not the least, from a remedies standpoint, well, this is a month where you've got to be a bit patient, and I talk more of practical remedies. Patient with your partner, patient with your romantic partner, or with your children for that matter, because of the situation which is coming on in your fifth house. From a seventh house perspective, things are looking quite optimistic, so I'm not too worried on that front. But what I would advise is that if you want to overcome any kind of domestic difficulties, lack of mental emotional peace coming into picture, please be watchful of your communication. You have the ability. Rahu is sitting in your third house with Ketu bang opposite to it, so it will give you the right strategy to articulate your thought processes. Now, all of this analysis and thought process, if you feel it has been worthwhile for me to present you in this shape and form, then I would need you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Now, my Capricorn friends, as you guys can see on the screen, early part of the month, first 10 days, Sun is sitting exalted in your fourth house. Now, this is, suggesting an authoritative, powerful, almost government-like, authoritative vibe coming from your side at your home. Or maybe your mindset could also come across in a very similar fashion, where you could feel the urge to stamp your authority in front of the people, especially at your home itself. And you've got to understand that Mars during this period is sitting combusted with Saturn in your third house. So there is going to be courage, but there is going to be a lot of frustration build-up also coming into picture. I would want you to be careful, especially with respect to your communication with your siblings or at your workplace, on social media. Something or the other could lead for you to vent out that frustration, that anger, which may not be very optimal for your relationships, for your public status as such. And you've got to be mindful. In the second part of the month, you will have a phase where planets will be making their transit, but I just want to visit back directionally as well. Whilst Sun is exalted, this is not the most optimal situation. Eighth Lord is coming into exaltation in the fourth house, so some bit of sudden shifts could also come into picture. Mercury will be there in conjunction, but Venus is sitting in your fifth house during this period, during the first phase. So it's at least better from your romantic pursuits, from your children education, speculative gains perspective. However, Ketu is not the one which is giving any kind of inclination on that front, sitting in the eighth house, but still you could have some degree of an interest coming in from that perspective. And the eighth lord, after all, is exalted for the first half, so we'll touch upon that more in a bit. But mid of the month is when major of the transits will come into place, May 11th to 14th, and Mars is entering in your fourth house. It is going to be coming in its own sign and forming a very interesting Rochak Yoga. And therefore, what you would realize that this is a period where that frustration and all the authoritative reflections that you've had at your home, this could make your house, your property, your home, your emotional mental space as a war zone. So you've got to be, mindful of this bit. Property related disputes, some bit of disagreement coming into picture, argumentative situations, land property disagreement could become fierce, especially if you are, pursuing something with respect to inheritance. At least the first 10 days are okay, but after that there will be some bit of difficulties coming into picture. Sun and Mercury as well will be making a shift into your fifth house. So a lot of focus towards strategy, towards intellect, towards creativity is coming into picture, towards children for that matter as well. And this is the time you've got to take care of their health too. So eighth lord after all is coming into the fifth house for you guys, Capricorn. And you've got to understand, Sun is not having a very good relationship with your Lagna Lord Saturn, so therefore this becomes crucial. Now in the last part of the month, Mars will be leaving its combustion, but you are aggressively going to be looking to acquire or renovate something with respect to your real estate. So that's a crucial bit which is coming into picture. Mercury will also be entering into your sixth house. So a lot of diplomacy, communication led strategies with respect to your competition at your workplace, those strategic way to maneuver difficult situations is going to be a part and parcel of your game plan, Capricorn. Let's break this down with respect to some of the key life areas that are getting impacted throughout this phase. So, I would love to talk about your career first. Now, this is where I anticipate that you are going to be leveraging your charm, your wisdom, your communication to defeat any kind of difficulties coming in your workplace. If you are an employee, because you have Jupiter sitting in Gemini, and then Venus will be entering into the in the middle part of the month in that sphere itself. So, a lot of benediction, if I may say, coming into place. But 10th Lord is also coming into the 6th house in conjunction with a pious planet like Jupiter. Jupiter is forming Vipreet Raj Yoga. It's the Lord of your 3rd house, and 12th sitting in the 6th. But Venus happens to be your 5th Lord and 10th Lord. So it's a Yoga Karaka planet for you folks, guys. And it is entering into, and it is entering into your 6th house with Jupiter. So it's giving a lot of polished way, empathetic way of dealing with situations. And I think that's going to be a very good period from a job related, perspective, because throughout this period, whilst Saturn is sitting in your 3rd house, it gives a lot of courage, promise, ability for you to fight difficult situations, be enterprising, be proactive and self-driven. So it's good both from a job as well as business standpoint. However, Mars sitting in combust status along with Saturn is not giving that much of a promise, and that's where I said that once Venus also shifts into this 6th house, it's going to bring in, usually I would not call this as a great situation. You would know, guys, that I never promote Venus's presence in the 6th house, but this is sort of a Kuber yoga. I anticipate some of you Capricorns will be gaining out of this shift of Venus and this conjunction coming into picture, and that is where I would want to touch upon the financial aspect of things as well. I anticipate that for people who are in job, Capricorns, there is a strong possibility that you might have a job related promotion, some sort of a job shift coming into picture, some sort of a positive movement, maybe new job opportunities might also work out for you folks. But at the same time, you may want to check into the fact that Rahu is sitting in its own nakshatra from a 2nd house perspective. It's in its own sign. That's a very strong combination to be in. And then from a real estate perspective, in your 4th house, you will have Mars coming in combust status. So there could be some risky transactions, deals as well. Even when Sun is in exaltation, yes, things are better, but later, Sun being the 8th Lord is traversing into 5th. It can have both connotations with respect to inheritance, etc. Not a great situation to be in, but because it is moving into the 5th house in the second half of the month, it does give promise of some sort of material success coming throughout. So things will work out after a jitter, after a fight, after some sort of a complication, some sort of argumentative situation. And therefore you must be careful with respect to taking your communication or your judgment calls over such scenarios. However, financially, I would want to still call out that things are looking far more optimistic for you through the course of this month. For my student audience watching this video, now from an education standpoint, I see tremendous amount of focus and analytical skills coming into picture. You see in your fifth house itself, first of all, the fourth house is having presence of an exalted sun. That is indicating that lots of knowledge is coming into picture. Lugn Lord is in the third place. So, for publication related work, for seminars, distance travels coming into picture, where you present your thought process, be proactive about your leadership skills and stuff. All those probabilities are coming into picture strongly, and therefore if you see the aspect of Saturn being in the third house, third aspect falling on the fifth house, is indicating that whilst there will be testing situations, especially for people who are pursuing graduation, people who are pursuing any kind of certification courses, there will be some bit of challenges coming into picture. But fourth house is showing lots of strength with respect to knowledge gain, with respect to asset growth as well, in a way. So that's a positive bit. Even though Mars is combust, it coming to its own sign is indicating that somewhere or the other you will be ruthlessly working in that direction. Then we have got to account the exaltation of Sun, and this where it also means that research related stuff, hidden stuff, occult related knowledge is also going to be becoming prominent. Venus will be staying in its own sign in the fifth house. So there is going to be a response of that effort coming in the right outcome. And the second half of the month is looking quite optimistic and positive from a competition standpoint. So I think my student audience is going to, leverage this Capricorn, this period quite handsomely, starting first 2 weeks in consolidating what you know, and then the last 2 weeks in terms of implementing that for any kind of competitive wins or bids coming into play. From a health perspective, I see chest related issues, heartburn related issues, tension coming on the chest due to stress, mental and emotional stress piping up due to domestic matters is highly probable. So you guys will have to take care for it. If you are a heart patient, if you are having issues related to heart, so please be a lot more watchful on yourself during this phase. Now, from a relationship standpoint, this is a time where you are going to be healing a lot of broken relationships as well, because what you would notice is that Saturn is giving an aspect to your fifth house from a romance relationship standpoint with your children, and it is your Lugn Lord. It can give a very harsh aspect for others, but it may not be as tough on yourself. This could mean relationships with your children, with your romantic partners, with your own siblings, with your father for that matter, because of its seventh aspect falling into your ninth house. Any of these relationships are going to see some bit of a test, but they are also going to bring some sort of a healing together along with it. From a romantic pursuit perspective, what I anticipate is that at least the first half of the month is going to be extraordinary. There could be some unexpected, transformation that you might have to go in your romantic life in the second half. But overall, from a relationship perspective, again, I see a lot of positivity oozing out for you folks. Things are looking good both in the first half and the second half of the month, depending on the relationships, because the first half is when Sun is sitting in the fourth house. Work life balance, domestic affairs are going to become interesting. There could be some bit of a struggle coming in from a work perspective, but Venus is holding ground with respect to children, with respect to romance. However, things shift as Sun comes into the sign of Taurus along with Mercury. So things are going to be different during that period. However, Saturn's aspect are saying that it is time to heal. It is going to be a long drawn process that you are going to observe during this month. But overall, Capricorns, I see it's a very, it's an interesting situation to be in. You may want, so from a remedy or caveat perspective, I would want to call out that there is going to be this excessive amount of heat, excessive amount of energy coming in your fourth house of mental peace and emotions, as well as your assets. So you've got to cool yourself down. Having a silver coin or consuming good amount of water in your body, in your cycle, is going to be especially helpful during this period. What you've got to, what you can explore from a remedy perspective, spiritual remedy perspective, is just praying to Shiva or Hanuman, more importantly, is going to be especially helpful for you folks during this period. And I hope, guys, that if all of this analysis and thought process has added some value to your life and you feel it was a worthwhile effort, then I'll request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah. Now, my Aquarius audience, you can watch this both from an Aquarius rising as well as Aquarius moon sign, because for my Aquarius moon, you are getting impacted with the last phase of Sade Sati as well, guys. And we've got to understand, see, the early part of this month, the first 10 odd days, the first phase is when Sun is sitting exalted in your third house. Now, this is a time where Aquarius, you could be finding yourself absolutely fearless in terms of your initiatives, in terms of your confidence, in your communication, especially at a formal setup perspective. There could be something dramatically, interesting that could come into picture with respect to your partnerships in terms of your relationship as well. We'll touch more about that in a bit. Ketu is, of course, giving an aspect to that exalted Sun sitting in from the 7th house itself. But as you see that this is a time where you could be pitching ideas and you could be putting in that proactive effort, winning on those deals, winning on those possibilities. Now, it's a good period for your short duration, short distance travels as well. Nice weekend getaways coming into picture. Aquarius, the bit is that Rahu is sitting in your Lagna and you have your 5th Lord 11 places away in conjunction with Sun in your 3rd house itself. So, I definitely see the interesting possibility of a family holiday, maybe with your siblings, with your children, something exotic that you would love to try during this period. Mid of the month, by the way, before I jump onto the next phase, remember that Mars is sitting in your 2nd house, combusted along with Saturn. Yes, it's the last phase of Sade Sati, but for my larger, both from Lagna as well as from moon perspective, Aquarius, there's a high risk of communication related issues coming into picture, harsh speech, difficult situations from that perspective, which is what you have to keep in mind in the first phase of May. In the mid part of the month is where Mars moves out of your 2nd house and comes into the 3rd. This is the time for ruthless execution of your ideas, of your thought process, but it also gives the indication or possibilities of fights, quarrel, disagreement coming in with your siblings in your neighborhood, some sort of an initiative with respect to new sports, games, etc. Hyper activity with respect to gym. All those things are very much viable for my Aquarius friends. Sun and Mercury will be moving into the 4th house, so the focus is shifting towards home, it is shifting towards mother, it is shifting towards motherland, and it is also going to be a period because the 7th Lord is 10 places away from itself. Good period for businesses, for your spouse, for initiatives being taken by your spouse during this period in the sign of Taurus. Now, directionally, both of these planets are losing the Digbala, the directional strength that comes along with it, but this is also a period, the mid part of the month, when Venus is entering into your 5th house, becoming conjunct with Jupiter. Wow, I really love it because 4th Lord in the 5th house, good time for family, good time for romance, good time for expansion of your wealth, knowledge, etc. in conjunction with your 11th Lord. So that's a brilliant thing. And in fact, Jupiter is such a crucial planet. It holds 2 important houses, the 2nd house as well. So that conjunction coming into picture in the 5th house, it's just promising a lot of creativity, good positive vibes coming in your life, Aquarius. Now, the late part of the month, in the last phase, is where Mars is coming out of its combustion. This is a time your 10th Lord and your 3rd Lord, it's in the 3rd house itself, out of combustion, is indicating that you are going to be conquering on your karma, on your goals, with the initiatives that you are undertaking during this time. Mercury is also going to be becoming conjunct in your 5th house itself. So there is a cluster forming in your 5th house, which is about the genius in your Aquarius, the intellect, the romantic bit coming out. Now let's try and decode this from various aspect or areas of life that you see implications coming on. So starting first and foremost with respect to your career, I anticipate that this is a time you could be executing your plans perfectly early on. Yes, late May is about a lot of explosion of creativity and out of the box thinking, but in the first half of the month, what you will notice is that your 10th Lord Mars is sitting in conjunction with the natural 10th Lord of Kalpurush, which is Saturn. Both both of them forming a brilliant Dhana Yoga. Yes, it is difficult with respect to speech and communication, but it is indicating that you are going to be leaving no stone unturned when it comes to your efforts, when it comes to your energy. Now, if you're watching this from an Aquarius moon sign standpoint, one additional bit that I would want to call out, that Saturn is second to your natal moon right now, giving an aspect to your sign of Sagittarius, house of gains and wish fulfillment. And therefore, with respect to your career, with respect to your job, with respect to your initiatives that you are taking, there is going to be some bit of a promise, aggression early on, which is coming into picture. In fact, this is also the part of the month where your seventh lord is in exaltation. So for my entrepreneur audience, for my people who are running their businesses, who are trying to do a side hustle in combination with job and business, people who are driven, self-employed, I see positive structure coming in on all those areas. So there is a definitive promise in terms of executing things ruthlessly, in terms of actions. But it doesn't stop there. You just bloody keep on building on that momentum week over week. Like as the shift comes into picture, there could be some bit of challenges with Sun's shift into the fourth house with Mercury. Be watchful with respect to argumentative situations with your colleagues, business partners as well. However, Mars is entering into its own sign. Later it will come out of combustion as well. Venus is getting into a very good space in conjunction with Jupiter. So all those additional out of the box ideas, that creative pursuits, that startup genius that you want to bring to the table is getting full support from the transitory shift of the planets. And therefore, Aquarius, very good time for you to focus on your career, to execute your plans, and to meticulously double down on areas that you want to positively transform. Moving on with respect to your finances. Now, this is a time where in the last 10 days, especially, I see good amount of speculative gains coming into picture. Speculative investments like into stock market, cryptocurrencies, etc. can work out. Even gold related or luxury related investments might give you some positive deals, positive outcomes. Venus and Jupiter's conjunction in the fifth house. Jupiter holds your second house lordship and 11th house lordship, and it is becoming conjunct with your ninth lord and your fourth lord, Aquarius. So, two very powerful gurus, and especially for your chart who hold such high potential, they are becoming conjunct from the later part of the month, from the second half of the month onwards, which is a solid indication of some sort of a success coming in with the support of luck, but using your own intellect, your own willpower. Remember, the ninth lord has gone 9 places away from itself. So that's a very good movement coming into picture. Very positive signs after a long gap. I'm speaking with so much enthusiasm for my Aquarius audience because I definitively see some positive shifts. You see, even at the start of the month, Mars and Saturn are in conjunction. Yes, the returns will be there during that period as well, albeit that Dhana Yoga is very strong, albeit it could be a tad bit slow. Some bit of expenses might continue to percolate. Remember, the reason that magnification is coming into picture in the later part of the month is that not just Jupiter, but Rahu is also giving an aspect to your fifth house on Jupiter, on Venus, which is just simply magnifying the outcomes that you can anticipate from a finance perspective. So good period. There could be some, chronic continuous expenses that might still hang along, trickle along, but that is fine, guys. You will be able to figure out a way to navigate. Now, for my student audience watching this video, from an education standpoint, students are going to see some massive breakthroughs coming in their career with respect to their studies, because again, in the second half of the month, the fifth house is getting activated deeply, as well as your fourth house, because earlier you have Venus, but then Sun and Mercury coming into the fourth house. Yes, directionally not a phenomenal position to be in. Still, it gives the possibility for you to enhance on your knowledge, grasp on new things. So you will be able to somewhere or the other leverage that effort in the right direction. Maybe studying in partnership may not be as bad an option for you folks, but be mindful in terms of not wasting much of your time with respect to commute or traveling long distances, etc. If you are, traveling within your neighborhood, trying to spend some time with your friend, doing group group studies, doing that preparation, it is a decent time. But I see good expansion, good breakthroughs coming in from the second part of the month onwards. From a health perspective, Aquarius, you've got to be careful for your shoulder and neck area. I mean, that is where some early on tension can come into picture. You have an exalted sun there. You might want to push yourself a bit too hard, especially whilst playing some game or sports, or doing some physical activities, pursuing your hobbies. That aggression could be there. Mind you, you are going to find a relief by the end of the month, but there is a definitive possibility of having a sprain, injuring some part whilst doing weightlifting, especially whilst playing some sport games. Swimming related injuries I've seen very less unless until you are a professional athlete, but yeah, you've got to be careful on all those areas, but nothing serious that I can imagine at this point in time, at least from a transit perspective. From a relationship standpoint, now this is a month which is indicating a lot of promise with respect to relationships. For my married audience, for people who are in partnerships, there's a lot of ray of hope with the exaltation, ninth movement of sun into the third house. You guys could take travel journeys, short vacations, brief holidays with your family members, good exotic places. It could bring peace of mind because in that part of the month you have Venus sitting in your fourth house as well, while sun is sitting exalted. It can also help you establish stronger relationships with your partners in a formal setup as well. However, as you move further ahead in the month, you would notice that there is a lot of promise coming in with respect to good growth for your partner, as sun is coming into the fourth house, 10 places away from itself. But Venus and Jupiter's conjunction is indicating that romance is going to blossom beautifully and positively for you folks. So whether you are a single audience or you are married, there's a lot of positivity oozing out for my Aquarius friends on that perspective. Then there could be a highly intellectual or joyous connection that could come into picture for my single folks. Again, for family members, this is going to be a brilliant time to spend with your children. Lot of positivity with respect to kids also listening into your feedback. Some of the challenges that the married people have been facing with Ketu's placement into the seventh house, guys, this is going to be a month which is going to give you the opportunity to bridge that gap, to walk the talk, to understand that how you can address some of those things. Now, last but not the least, from a remedies or caution perspective, if I may call out, this is a month where you'll have to be careful with respect to any kind of physical injury coming into picture, or with respect to your communication. I see argumentative situations arising with your family members or with your siblings within your neighborhood for that matter. So just be careful in terms of not letting things get better of you, but otherwise it's a phenomenal month. Make great use of the opportunity which is coming your way. Now, before you leave and jump onto some other section, you want to watch some other video on Dev Astrology, if you've liked the effort that I bring to the table, I'll request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Har Mahadev. Now guys, as you can see on your screen here, the early part of the month, you will find that sun is sitting exalted in your second house. As I said, that the transit of your sixth lord, sun, is happening in exaltation for the first half of the month in your second house itself. It is a very good indication. It's a ninth shift of your sixth lord into exaltation, which gives a very strong possibility of job-based, career-based, competitive examination-based gains coming into your life, financial status, accumulation of wealth, increase in savings coming into picture because of this bit. And then later, as we were talking about, Mars, which is a Yoga Karaka planet for you folks, it is also going to move in its own sign because it's the lord of your ninth house and your second house. So the start of the month is indicating that this is a time where you can go ahead and accumulate wealth. You can grow on your savings. You are going to speak with a lot of confidence, with a lot of authority coming into picture in your articulation, especially within your family as well. However, Mars in the first part of the month is sitting combusted along with Saturn in your Lagna. So you'll have to be careful with respect to your speech with your family members, at least during this period. There is going to be tremendous amount of physical pressure as well, which could be coming on you. In the same phase, you will realize that Mercury, which happens to be placed in the sign of Aries itself, so it is also going to be transiting along with Sun into the third house in the sign of Taurus, where Venus is currently already placed. So you see, from your formal communication perspective, formal interactions perspective, there is a significant positive presence there with that Venus, and it is only going to improve week on week. You are going to see improvement because Mercury is going to be coming into this house, whilst Venus will become conjunct in the fourth house. Good placement along with Jupiter. We'll touch upon that in detail in a bit. Mid of the month, around 11th to 14th, this is the time where all these transits are coming into picture. This is a time when Mars is entering into your second house, guys, and this is where you could be aggressive about chasing money, aggressive in terms of your speech, almost combative in the way you are going to be dealing with situations. My word is, please do not burn the bridges when it comes to your family members, when it comes to your near and dear ones, because that probability is going to be on the high. Sun and Mercury, both of them will be moving into your third house, which denotes short trips, which talks about your media related gains. So that sort of a transit is positive. Mars presence here can be a little tricky, but the shift of Sun and Mercury is only going to enhance your courage, your strength in terms of ability to undertake new initiatives and stuff. And then Venus is forming this brilliant Hamsa as well as Malavya yoga energy in your fourth house with Jupiter during this phase itself. So the middle part, the second phase, is the phase where multiple shifts are coming into picture. And then the later part of the month, around 25th onwards, Mars is leaving its combustion, securing your finances there. Mercury joins the fourth house cluster, and that is why I've sort of represented Mercury predominantly in the third house itself, where there is finally going to be good amount of ultimate domestic peace coming into picture. So that's a positive shift. As we progress over the course of the month, things are going to settle down in a positive fashion. Let's break this down into the various areas of your life that are getting impacted. First and foremost, from a career perspective, guys, I see this is an excellent period for my Pisces audience. Of course, if you're watching from a Pisces moon standpoint, you are getting impacted with the second phase of Saturn. But people who are working in media, in writing, in sales, in communication, etc., there's a very phenomenal growth coming into picture. First and foremost, for all my Pisces audience, irrespective of your Lagna or moon sign, because of Sun's shift being the sixth lord into the second house in exaltation, it is clearly indicating that you are going to find success in your job, in your workplace, in your day-to-day activities. Then you have your 10th lord, which is also your Lagna lord or Rashi lord if you're watching from a moon sign perspective, Jupiter, sitting in a decent placement in the fourth house, giving an aspect back to the 10th itself. So you are going to be driven, motivated towards your karma. Yes, Saturn is sitting on top of your head, but even a combusted Mars is going to bring some degree of an energy with you to take the battle head on, to take the actions on top of what you need to or you must do in order to achieve success. So Saturn's aspect is also falling into the sign of Sagittarius in your 10th house itself. And yes, there is going to be a situation of almost feeling like burnt out, getting exhausted. All those things are going to be coming into picture, but you are going to be taking your work as your top priority. Especially for people who are working in the space of social media, in terms of sales, in terms of short distance travel, communication, all those related fields. Well, this is a solid period for you, thanks to the sixth lord coming 10 places away from itself in your third house, where it is going to be in conjunction with Mercury. Prior to that, as I already said, Venus was there, and it is going to be making that shift during the transit period. So your third house is getting activated with respect to your initiatives, with respect to short-term journeys that you might have to make during this part of from this time onwards in the month. And I think Pisces, there are enough and more opportunities for you to bring out your enterprising mindset. Your ability to take charge of things is only going to improve week over week. So irrespective of the difficulties that you could see coming your way, I anticipate that you will be putting in, burning that midnight oil. You will be taking new initiatives if you are on a job, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business person. Mercury's shift is happening 9 places away from itself, and later on it is going to get into its own sign. So from a business career perspective too, people who are self-employed, who are driven with their own initiatives, working in startup ideas in startup fields, I see positive impact coming in from all those areas for you, Pisces. As we move towards the financial aspect of things, I would want to highlight that there's a very strong focus of wealth, especially in the first half of the month, whilst Sun is sitting exalted in your second house itself. However, we must also consider the fact that your 11th lord of gains, which is Saturn, is sitting in your Lagna. This means you are driven by ambitions, desires, targets, wish fulfillment. You are getting the support of your 9th lord, which is sitting in conjunction with Saturn, albeit it is combusted, and that is Mars. And yes, Mars is 12th to itself for the initial part of the month, but it is in Lagna. So you are going to get support from your family, luck, fortune, destiny in terms of your incomes. And then the focus is, of course, to multiply that with respect to savings. You are going to be keeping a check on your expenses. However, Rahu can always throw a spanner in the wheel because it is sitting in its own nakshatra and its own sign in the 12th house. So be cognizant of that bit. Ketu's presence whilst in the 6th is indicating that some bit of losses, expenses from a medical perspective could come into picture. As you proceed through the course of the month, I don't think there is a negativity which is coming into picture, because even though Sun's moving along with Mercury in your 3rd house, Mars is entering into its own sign, into its own house, being the Bhagesh, being the 9th lord in your 2nd house. It is giving a positive inclination. More importantly, late May is perfect for you to buy any kind of luxurious vehicle in terms of upgrading your home. You see, Jupiter conjunct with Venus, bringing that expansion in your 4th house. Mars coming out of its combust status, positioned in the 2nd house itself, being the lord of the 2nd and that of 9th. And then, Venus absolutely denotes luxury. It is getting an aspect from Rahu as well. Something big with respect to expansion, with respect to happiness, with respect to asset growth is getting indicated for you guys, Pisces, in the last part of the month of the May. Now, as we move further, I would want to draw the attention for my student audience on their education perspective. This is a time where learning from the comfort of your home could yield great results. I mean, many of you could be looking for online based education for competitive examinations. The first half of the month is absolutely brilliant. Good opportunities coming in the 2nd half of the month as well. You might have to travel for your education somewhere, but guys, Jupiter and Venus combination in the 4th house, Mercury also later on coming in its own sign itself somewhere. Yes, directionally not a great situation for Mercury to be in, but Jupiter and Venus are doing phenomenally great in this point, and that is where I see that this is a time you could literally expand on your knowledge and you can expand on your reach as well. So leverage social media, leverage digital forms, try and consume more time by yourself, sitting in the comforts of your home, and make sure you have all the assets required to grasp and to multiply your knowledge during this period. Absolutely phenomenal period in the month of May to make sure you can excel in terms of your priorities. For people who are looking forward to pursue long distance journeys for foreign education, for higher learning, higher education, it's a great month. You are going to continue to build. People who are working in the space of research, etc., it's a positive period. I see expansion coming in the month of May for those audience as well. Now, from a health perspective, I would like to iterate here, Pisces. This is a time where there could be heavy pressure coming on your physical body, on your Lagna. You have the presence of Saturn and Mars. In fact, at the time of recording this video as well, this combination is currently continuing in your chart, and it is going to be trickling down to the month of May as well. So you will feel some bit of pressure. You will feel some degree of anxiety, especially for my moon sign audience. You could feel this to be an emotionally overwhelming period as well. But the headaches are going to subside. The the problems that you are facing are eventually going to subside as the weeks progress, as the shift continues. I think there is going to be some remarkable amount of domestic peace and happiness which is going to come into the lives of my Pisces audience. I am sending positive waves, positive vibes in your direction. Now let's touch upon the relationship aspect of things. From a relationship perspective, as I was alluding earlier, see, the house of speech and communication is seeing some bit of an impact coming into picture thanks to exalted sun. Yes, you will be very commanding, very authoritative, but be watchful that you don't go ahead and say something which is hurtful, because Mars and Saturn combination exists, and then Mars is going to be coming into the second house itself. So your speech could be cutting like knife. It could be curt. Ketu sitting from the sixth house is continuously giving an aspect to the second. So we've got to be watchful on that particular front. Good bit is, as these two planets, which is Sun and Mercury, move into the third house, and even earlier whilst Venus is placed there, from your formal communication and interaction perspective, I see a lot of positive impact coming into picture. So you are going to maintain good relationships with your customers, client, bosses, superiors. Things are going to get dramatically better once Mars comes out of its combustion. However, the story doesn't stop here. Whilst I have given you that caveat, that warning with respect to your family life, the way you choose your words, I think once Venus is becoming conjunct with Jupiter and later Mercury also comes into the same place, there is going to be absolute bliss in your home, in your asset front, in your mental peace fronts. You could be hosting beautiful gatherings, or you could simply be enjoying blissful time with your family members. So as you are proceeding ahead with the month of May, I think there is going to be an improvement from a domestic relationship, peace of mind perspective coming into picture. Be mindful that you are not coming across too harsh to your own near and dear ones. Now, last but not the least, the remedy or the caveat which I have continued to highlight: keep a check on your choice of words, because they can come across hurtful, they can be difficult, but eventually, if you are able to keep a check, Pisces, you are soft people, kind-hearted. If you are able to keep a check on your tone up till the mid of the month, then I think there is a remarkable shift, positive shift that is coming into picture, which is going to be absolutely delightful. I hope, folks, you've enjoyed watching the insights that I've brought to the table. If you have, then I request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching me. Adev.